It's been a decorative, life, mate, a roller coaster to say the least. I was chasing a dream. Since I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was play NRL. At the time, you think you're bulletproof. I just know that I was a kid that just wanted to be loved. And unfortunately, I had a conditional love all my life, and it was based on how well I was doing. I was carrying stuff that I shouldn't have at such a young age. I just wanted to be loved for who I was, and I then felt like I needed to play good footy to be loved. I got caught up in the fame of playing professional sport, earning a lot of money, it not being an issue, still going through a roller coaster, but the culture of drinking and taking drugs. There was times where my ego carried me through my whole career.
How does a young boy that's only experienced conditional love, how does he grow into a man that can express unconditional love to his kids? What taught you that?
Jesus Christ.
Do you want to be average? Do you want to be above average? Do you want to stand out? I mean, are you in this game just to have a fight, or are you in this game to become the champion? It's time.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the Men's Collective podcast, the place where real men, real talk, none of that BS. Wayne Taylor here. I'm here with the Average Joes, Mikie, Stevie. Welcome, lads.
How are we doing, lads? I've been promoted. I'm at the right hand today.
The right hand of the Wayne. There you are, mate.
Right hand of the mother. Yeah.
Stevo, good to have you back, bud.
Yeah, still in the back seat. That's all good.
Yeah. Can you hear us over there?
Sorry, what?
Steve.
I'm just. How do I sit today?
Yeah. That's why we set you there. We've got the biggest arms that can try and compete. Dayne, mate, welcome, bud. I'm going to introduce you a little bit later on, but welcome to the show, buddy.
No, thanks for having me.
We'll hear a lot about your story later on, which is going to be unreal. Well, couple of things we get kicking off. One Life Property, guys that have supported us right from the start. Guys, want to give a big shout out to you. You guys are amazing. We couldn't have done it without you. Say it every single week, but you guys are unreal. And if you guys are interested in doing investments and things like that out there, hit up One Life Property. They sponsor us. They partner with us. They're amazing guys. Hit them up. Also want to give a big shout out to all you guys that have given us 5 stars reviews and things like that. It absolutely means the world to us because it literally bumps up our organic search and things like that and what we're doing, getting this content out there. So for you guys that have reviewed our stuff and you do actually enjoy it, we appreciate it. I actually just sent another message through to the group chat this week of just some stuff that people write into us. You guys are absolute legends because we're doing this for you, and the fact that you love it, that you do get so much out of it, absolutely amazing. So we love hearing from you. Really, really good. Look, don't forget to check out any of the merch stuff on our website. I did have contact this week with the guys from the website. I think by next week, our whole brand new website's going to be up, which is going to be jam-packed full of so much more gear, but so much more content with regards to our videos and stuff like that, which is going to be absolutely unreal. So really, really good. Couple of announcements. Nathan Cavalieri's podcast last week. I'm getting so much good feedback about it, eh? Heaps.
How good is it, mate?
It's been really good. I don't know if you guys have listened to it yet, but obviously going through the editing and stuff, it's just a ripper of a dude, eh?
Yep, 100%.
Really, really good. But the feedback on it. So guys that you haven't heard Nathan's chat with us last week, goes deep. It goes some untold stories, but hit it up. It's really, really good. One thing I didn't do last week, Mike, was your birthday, dude. Happy birthday, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
mate.
you for everything you do.
It was good. That bottle was awesome, by the way. Thank you.
You did like it? Good. Yeah. So,
Midori? Yeah, I've heard it's nice.
Yes.
West Coast cooler, isn't it?
Don't be ashamed, mate. Don't be ashamed.
That's good, mate. The first to 50, which is great. The first out of us to hit the 5-0.
Feels like it. Does
My
feel like
knees
it.
feel like it. Yeah. Happy birthday, mate. Another big shout out to Samuel, who obviously works in the editing side of what we do here, who also is my son, turned 18 yesterday. So big happy birthday to him, mate. We when I say, can't do it without you, he's literally the guy that can't do this without.
Yep.
The stuff that he does is absolutely next level. So, buddy, big shout out to you, mate. Not only do I love you as my dad, but we love you as what you do as part of the movement here at Average Shows. Absolute legend. Happy birthday, buddy. Fellas, we started our accountability thing last couple of weeks. How you guys been going with it all? I've heard some messages.
Bro, I slept this week.
What'd you eat?
Oh, everything.
So the list will be shorter.
The accountability's there, at least.
Yeah, look, there was no
He's told us.
vegetables in there.
I had not a bad week. I stayed off the carbs, which is good, but I sticking to the whole carnivore thing, and I kind of went /keto this end of this week a little bit, but went pretty good.
Do you know what? Like, it's been such a tough couple of weeks with work that this week was like by Wednesday, I'm like, man, tonight is just I'm letting go. What a terrible thing to do, right?
Yeah, you did.
All
You
that
got it.
hard work, and then you make it harder.
What did you eat? Describe it slowly for me.
I did start with chicken wings, so it wasn't that bad.
Oh, chicken wings. You cannot go wrong with wings.
Then I topped it off with some onion rings.
You and rings, mate. What's the next ring to come?
Stop talking to me like that.
Yeah, for me it's pretty
Stevo's
good.
go.
Interesting, hey, like it's such a go-to for me. Like you, Mike, you had a big week, and straight away my mind goes to, I just want to eat comfort food. Like that was a real big trigger to go, I just want to sit on the couch, watch some TV, and just smash balanced diet, so burger in both hands.
Yeah, it's good.
How many avocados did you eat?
Oh, mate, and the seed and the skin. But yeah, it's good. But that feeling afterwards of pushing through, like that's the accountability piece. And I knew Wayne's going to message me, and I don't want to lie about it, so I'm going to do the right thing. So even today, big day, rough day, and eating clean all day. So it's good. Just
mate.
it's those little moments powering through.
Well done.
And having a mate who's going to ask has actually been really helpful.
I don't think we should ask Dayne.
Yeah, you don't give off the impression that you look after
I'll
yourself
tell
whatsoever.
you,
But
like, chocolate's my kryptonite.
it's a really
What, once a year?
When I,
It's once a day.
no, but I've literally learnt to be able to not knock a block over a night and just have smaller portions now. But I had to cut it. I had to go cold turkey there for a while. But
What's that word? Portion. I've never heard such a word.
But I mean, it's just building good habits. Like on a serious note, it's, you know, once you do it and it becomes, you know, you're feeling good from it. Like naturally, those cravings, you know, they disappear because you feel so good. You don't want to go to it. But in saying that, I've been on a pretty strict diet for a couple of years, and it's only now where I'm kind of like, well, I've done the hard work, but I still like to have chocolate. But I can control it. It doesn't control me. You know.
Yeah,
Powerful. We'll let you know when we're there.
when we get there, we'll send you a message.
Level 1.
Control. What is such a thing? Good. Well, let's keep it going. Let's keep this accountability going. Touching base every day, and where we're all sitting, because it's true what you said, Stevo. When you know the message is coming, it does play in your head. Because I had that time a few times this week where I'm like, oh yes, I want some of that, and I'm like, oh no, because they're going to text me and I can't lie about it. So, really good. Another aspect, guys. I will be sending out an invite to all the hosts of all our meetup groups regarding this, but I do want to make this also a public announcement. But we will be having our Average Joe's Christmas party Saturday. I think it might be Friday. No, Saturday the 6th of December. Open for all. I'm going to put a big barbecue on. It's going to be on us. Head on out. Come and meet us. Come and meet the fellas from the podcast. Come and meet the guys that host all the groups. Hear more about what we do. But it is open to you, the community. So we'll put some more info out there soon. But 6th of December. Keep that in date. Hey, pretty cool announcement to make. But last week, I know we touched on it a bit on our socials. But we went to we were nominated for the Sunshine Coast. Was it the Health and Wellbeing Award for the space that we do stuff with men, and look, just the nomination alone was it was really cool. The fact that what we do is seen by the public as something beneficial, and we much appreciate the nomination. But the really cool thing, we won. Check this out. Got some awards here that.
Sunshine Coast Sexiest Man, was it?
Yep, I won that.
4 years in a row.
Sponsored by Wayne Taylor. But these are pretty cool. I know what camera angle's picking this one up. But guys, we won. It was really cool. It's the fact that one was noticed, but two appreciated the way and received by the community. I think we're doing a great thing, and the community obviously thinks the same thing. Really cool.
Awesome.
And I had a few guys there with us, and it was a great night. So big shout out to the guys from NDED. They did sponsor the award. Big shout out to the Sunshine Coast Gala Awards for hosting it and for putting it through. Guys are legends. Absolutely awesome. That's it for announcements, guys. Okay, guys, over to this segment for Ask the Fellas.
Yeah, I suppose we've got two here, guys. We'll go through just quickly both ends of the scale. But first one says, what's up, guys? I'm Tony, 45, just come out of a marriage breakup. I'm trying to rediscover purpose after 20 years. Where do I even start? Won't get into specifics regarding the divorce, but felt like I maybe got married too young and now starting over again. Mate, it's such a big one to throw out there in one sentence. How do you wrap all that up? But the thing that stood out to me straight away was when he said, trying to rediscover purpose after 25 years. And I would just say, Tony, there's always hopefully got to be purpose in our life, no matter what stage we're in. And hopefully marriage shouldn't rob us of having purpose. As a man, I think it's good to have purpose. But I would just say the two biggest things we always fight for in life are purpose and identity. And often we chase purpose because it's easier. It's easier to get the milestone. It's easier to kind of see those things happen quickly, but identity is the piece that you want to discover. And out of that, when you can get that, you see the alignment move into purpose. Purpose will find itself a lot easier when we know who we are, what we want about, what we want to bring. And Wayne, you touched on that the other week about just asking that question, who are you without purpose? For most people, it's impossible. I've asked it to heaps of people this week and they're like, I don't know. So my challenge to you, Tony, obviously fresh start, you can make choices. There's nothing holding you back from making good choices and starting fresh, but I would start with identity. Get that locked in. I think your purpose will come.
Good, Stevo.
Anyone else? Feedback?
Mikie.
Yeah, look, I had a good friend just last year went through a similar situation, divorce, and it really rattled him. But one of the things he did was he took a lot of time to actually sit in that and unpack who he was as a man, what he wanted to be, where he wanted to improve. And he really spent a good year sitting there and actually working out all the things in his life where he can improve. Mm-hmm. And from that, he really built the foundations. And fast forwarding, the results are just incredible. Him as a man realising that it isn't your partner that defines you, it's you. If you can be happy within yourself, that's when you can move on and make something better.
Yeah, 100%, man.
That's really well said. I mean, from experience, I've been married twice, so I actually experienced divorce. So it feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel with that stuff. But one thing I can say now that I'm happier than I've ever been, and a lot of people say, oh, you'll never find that love or happiness again. Trust me, you do. And I think as a man too, a husband and a father, you learn a lot, from reflecting and looking back, and, for Tony to look back and go, maybe where did it go wrong? Where could be better, So that's what, it's easier said than done, but I think there's light at the end of the tunnel with it, and there's a love out there for you, mate, that will fill you up more than you can ever imagine. So,
yep.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, look, when I read this question, it's I think what the first thing I'll start with is that you're asking yourself, oh, maybe you got married too young. I don't think that's even the right question to ask yourself right now, because if you're at the stages of divorce, not even, the right question to ask. In saying that, though, I got married at 20. I know that was very young. I'm actually a big believer in getting married young. I think growing together can sometimes be a strength to fall back on because there's a lot of relationship built there. So, look, I'm not against holding on age. I'm actually a big believer in getting married young. But I think in your situation, mate, don't even think of that question now because it's irrelevant. Where are you now? You're 45 years old. You've come out of a marriage breakup. Who's the man you're going to build now? And the way I would look at it as touching on what Mike has said, look at the things that are going to benefit, bettering you as a man. Focusing on the things that are going to get your health right, get your mental health right, get your mateship circle locked in and secured. I think that most importantly, focus on yourself if you're allowed to. I mean, we've touched on this before in a whole podcast about permission to put yourself first. And I think as a man, this is a better time than ever to actually put yourself first in some things. Not to use the word selfish, but it's okay to be selfish in getting yourself prepared. To the guys that they're listening, though, maybe looking at going down this path of divorce, a lot of men wait for a big thing like this to happen to then make the changes and go, oh, best thing I ever did. Don't be that guy that waits for a break to then try to rebuild. Yeah. You have permission to work on yourself right now whilst you're still going through some stuff. So don't wait for things to break to then look at it to try and fix it. Fix things now. If you're in your marriage and there's some adjustments you need to make, work on it. So that's, Tony, hope it all goes well for you, buddy.
Yeah. I think to just wrap that up as well, maybe your biggest purpose right now is actually yourself. Rather than trying to find something. Because when you do find something that's purposeful, you want to step into it with the best things you've got. And unless that's sorted out at the back end, you can squander amazing purposes because you're not ready to step into it. So I think that's probably your biggest purpose right now, Tony, is discover who is Tony.
That's a good thought, buddy.
There we go.
Next one.
Do you want to do the next one?
Go
Got time? Yeah. What's up, fellas? I'm 27. I have a girlfriend for the past 4 years. I'm not ready to settle, but getting the pressure big time. Is that fear, immaturity, just me not wanting to screw up what's good? Is 27 too young? Cheers.
Literally the opposite of what the question was just going through.
Yeah, 100%. Firstly, call Tony. Maybe you guys can have a good coffee and sort each other's issues out. But no, look, I think too young, as Wayne just said, mate, I don't think there's a question of too young. I think the question is not are you young, but are you prepared? Because marriage comes with a lot of weight. That can be phenomenal. I've heard marriage can be hell and heaven. But for me, when I've looked at my marriage, I've been married for 17 years now. And the biggest thing I worked out is I wanted to be ready. In your case, I got married at 26. I wanted to be ready to serve and to actually sort of be in a place where I can fulfill my role as a man and I'm whole as a person. When I knew that was happening, when I knew I was whole and I could serve and I could give and I could actually hold my part up, then I looked at it. So I wouldn't say 27 is too young, because I've met people who are 40 and shouldn't get married yet. And I've met people who are 18 who've been married and been successfully married. So I wouldn't put an age on it, but I would look at where that looks like. In terms of not wanting to screw up what's good, mate, if it's good,
yeah, lock it in.
I wouldn't be avoiding if it's good. I'd be getting started, and then increase on making that better. So. Yeah, mate. I don't know where the pressure's coming from. Could be from yourself, could be from your partner, could be from other people around you. But I know every decision I've made pressured has always been wrong.
Lads?
Mate, you say you're not ready to settle down. Like 4 years, you're pretty settled, right? Like,
Yeah.
You're the guy that takes 2 hours to eat a sandwich. It's, no, I mean, look, 4 years in, if you're not going anywhere, put a ring on it, man. I don't think you need to say much more than that.
Agreed. Dayne, want to add anything, bud?
No, really, that's good. I mean, too, with that, there's communication. Like, I think you two are the ones in the relationship. We can sometimes be influenced by outside people that aren't there day in, day out in your relationship. So communication, which I've learnt the hard way, is probably the most important thing, in a marriage and between two people. So you don't want to be feeling forced into something based on things that you just can't come together and talk about. So I think making sure he's on the same page. But yeah, mate, just get it done, eh?
No, I totally agree. Look, I'm literally going to pull apart your own question here. What's his name?
He didn't give us a name.
You didn't give us a name. No, I didn't.
Anonymous.
Didn't know. Okay, mate.
Mike.
Literally your own. Yeah. just text me next time. Mate, you literally said you're not wanting to screw up what's good, mate. You've said it literally in your own question, buddy. If it's good, look. My question back to you would be, why do you think marriage is going to ruin something that's good? Like, why is marriage even considered to be something to be frowned upon? I think it's the most amazing thing. I've been married 25 years, love every day. Doesn't mean it's been easy, but I've loved it. It's but yeah, mate, you're going to screw up something that's good. It doesn't ruin it. If anything, it enhances it, buddy. So, go for it, mate. Go for it.
There you go. Text us with a date.
Yeah.
Come propose on the podcast. Bring her in.
We'll meet everybody. No, thanks for that, guys. That was Ask the Fellas. And guys, look, please feel free, through all of our DMs, through our emails, send us through any questions you have. We're going to touch on them next week if we can fit them in. We've got plenty to go through still. So send them in. So that's awesome. Alrighty, Mikey, mate, over to you, buddy, for the week that was.
Guys, dust off your armour. Sounds like we're going to have a crusade.
I know where you're going with this one.
Mr. Trump, our friend, Donald Trump.
Your friend.
I think he's all our friend.
I think he's all our friend.
He really is. Yeah. So come out this week and has basically called out Nigeria and said, if you guys don't start protecting the Christians in your country, if you don't fix it, we're coming in guns a-blazing.
Bring us up to speed what's going on in Nigeria, because in case someone doesn't know.
Yeah, there's basically Christians are being slaughtered left, right and centre, and it doesn't seem like they're doing much about it. And also, I mean, there's videos coming out of actually the government there, the leaders actually getting involved, pushing it on. So, what a great time to be where we've got a leader who's actually standing up for not only Christians, but Christian values. Now, when you look at we're in the Western world, whether you like it or not, everything that we've got today all came from a Christian-based value society. So seeing Mr. Trump stand up there and put his neck on the line and call it out, this is the guy who said he would not start a war, and he's now pushing for something as important as this. I think it's great. What do you guys reckon?
I think with this one, because I've been watching this for the last couple of weeks, actually, look, see so much stuff on social media, and one of the biggest things that they're saying on all these social media platforms regarding this is the fact that major news outlets aren't covering it. No one's touching on it. No one. It's like when you do mention it to somebody, they go, "Oh, no, I haven't read a thing." Like, I go, "Really?
How do you miss it?" Right?
Yeah, like, why is it that one of the biggest things going on at the moment isn't getting the coverage? And I think that's what people are saying. But I think what Trump's doing, I look at it a couple of ways. I think what he's doing isn't necessarily to specifically protect Christian values. I think he would do it if it was armed against somebody else too, like if it was a religious group of some other thing. But the fact that, I mean, look, let's just call it like it is. It's Islam going against Christianity. Yep. And the fact that the world has stopped, whether that was flipped to, if it was, Hindus going against Buddhists and wiping the millions. Is it to the millions now? Or is it hundreds of thousands? Or is it, I don't
Well,
even know
officially
what
hundreds of thousands, but you would
Yeah.
say it's a lot bigger than what they'd be reporting.
Yeah, the fact that we are in a time where we are now, it's 2025. Like, this is how we're so advanced. We have AI, we have so many things that have advanced us in technology, but it seems as if we as humans still are living in this time where human life is so belittled that you can come in and you as a government can sit back and literally watch. Is it called a genocide if it's religious? What's the word? Is it a genocide? Like watching this religious genocide happen. Like, it's literally, if you're a Christian over in Nigeria at the moment, you are getting killed.
Yep.
And no one's doing anything about it. So good on Trump for standing up for a minute. I think, okay, so yeah, are we going for a crusade? I don't know. Thoughts, lads?
Would you jump in? I might have a go. Depends how big their guns are, I guess.
Fellas, input?
I haven't seen too much on it. But at the same time, I don't watch too much mainstream news. But I think whether they're Christians or not, it's still life. To think that these poor innocent people are suffering through that is, it's disgusting. Really, no other way to put that. But just hope and pray that there's it puts an end to it. However that has to happen, that's out of our control. But I just feel for the families and everyone that's been affected by it.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you put into perspective of what we see. Like, mainstream media doesn't cover anything from Trump anyway. I got a mate in Phoenix. He's like, "Did you hear about this? Did you hear about the 7 wars that he stopped this year?" I'm like, 7? What are you talking about? I know about one. And he just named all these countries that are at war that he's negotiated deals with that are at peace now. But when you put it in perspective, you go, if someone went out with 3 or 4 big ships and killed 400 dolphins, right, that'd be world news. Everyone would be acting on it. It'd be a huge thing. There'd be, protests, there'd be peacekeeping stuff, everything that happened over that. Yet, how can we sit and, as you said, Dayne, just human life is going and people are saying, man, that's crazy. And they scroll on. Oi, something's on sale at Kmart. How can we have that in the same breath? And so I think when we see someone like Trump stand up, we go, it's a bit, should he be doing that? Of course we have to do that. But I mean, our government, when they had the peace treaty, we dedicated one spokesperson to the peace treaty that Trump's sort of set up. And I think, to see someone at extreme level, why is it extreme? Should it be extreme to us these days? Unfortunately, it is. And we're like, man, that's a big deal. Well, no, it shouldn't be. It should be a natural response. There should be every country saying, what can we do? Not just going, what's Trump doing in meddling in other people's business? Mate, if it was a dolphin, mate, people would jump up in arms about that. How dare you kill a dolphin? Yet genocide can be still taking place in the modern era. That is insane to me.
Absolutely.
So true.
Well,
Having said that,
Trump's had a long line of sticking up for human life, though, right? Like,
he's
throughout his presidency, he's repeatedly stuck up for any kind of war to be ended. Every time you hear him talking about ending a war, his main focus is saving human life.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the only presidents you actually heard saying that. They'll always pick a side.
Yeah.
He just wants it finished. So,
And whatever your beliefs, wherever your standpoint is, whether it's, Christian, non-Christian, Trump, non-Trump, it all comes back to, I love that, Dayne. It's just, this is human life.
Yeah.
That's the statement. Nothing else should matter in that point.
And so far we have one leader of a country standing up for it.
And everyone's seen it.
Where's the leadership around the world? Where are good men standing up and going, enough is enough. This is human life getting wiped out. We've got one person.
our one's building windmills, isn't he?
Our one's fighting for net zero, spending billions of... Jeez, let's get him on.
I don't think he would, mate.
But look, to answer your question, man, going back to the Crusades, that's a pretty... I don't know. We did a podcast on, was it Stand for Nothing, Fall for Anything, a little while back. Where do you get the point where you go, this is what I believe and I'm going to stand my ground? Yeah.
Look, the world's becoming more and more divided. So it's a matter of time before certain things start to get a bit serious. For whoever's watching, I'm not saying I'm going to go to crusade. Just,
You sent me a message. You've even named it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, by the way, it's spelled with a C.
dude, what size are you for the armour?
Does armour come
How'd
in
you go with a
777?
sword over there? You wouldn't go far, would you?
Not with a sword,
Do you have pockets for chocolate?
I've got a mate coming. He needs chocolate. Portion chocolate. Well, thanks, buddy. That was the week that was. Very interesting, buddy. It's getting ready for a crusade, according to Mikie. But, all right, guys, it's time for Man vs. Machine. Okay, this is the part of the show where I ask the lads a question and I also ask ChatGPT the same question, and we compare the responses. We compare lived experiences with emotions and things like that compared to this ever-changing monstrosity of a thing in front of us called AI. And we compare them both and see where we sit. So, fellas, I hope you're ready for your question.
Bring it.
All right. I asked ChatGPT, whatever his name is, this question. I'm going to ask you guys first. Here it is. If respect is earned, not given, why do so many men crave to earn it from people they don't even respect? Question again. If respect is earned, not given, why do so many men crave to earn it from people that they don't even respect?
Short answer is we shouldn't, should we? We shouldn't be, but it's built into us. We crave it. There's no rhyme nor reason for it. We want it.
Why do we want respect from people we don't respect?
Well, I don't think we want it from the people we don't respect. We just want respect, regardless.
So does it become a matter of take it from wherever it comes from, whatever's available?
If there's none going, you're going to take what you get, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Stevo.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly what, that's what Jamie said. No, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I think the value's on respect, not where it comes from. That's the craving. And I just think about water. If you're desperate for water, if there's no water available that's clean, eventually you get to a point where you start drinking some pretty putrid stuff. But if you have water available, you're like, why the hell would you drink that? But it's a desperation, I think, because men, we thrive on respect. And if we can't get it from the places around us, we will generally kind of, almost prostitute ourselves out to get it from anywhere just to fulfill that need of feeling respected. And that's just a downward spiral. But
So do you then think then that crave for that kind of validation or that kind of feeling, let's call it a feeling, that crave for the feeling, do you think if it comes down to the type of person that we don't like, should we draw back? Or do you think we should continue to pursue it off those kind of people? Like why pursue it off people we don't respect?
yeah, I think, again, what we said before about just identity. If your identity is there, I don't think you really push for it for people. You don't want it so bad. But if you're craving that in yourself because it's a lack of what you have within yourself and you don't respect yourself enough, then you will look for it anywhere and everywhere and you'll take it where it comes.
Fair enough.
I think in life, there's plenty of people that we wouldn't respect, that we would need respect from in order to achieve a goal. You look at business dealings, you look at, can you imagine working in government? Can you imagine sitting opposite the Greens or Labour? You need their respect, but you clearly think they're a bunch of Fruit Loops, right?
But is that a compromise to yourself if you know who you are? Would you then even have that dealing if it's going to compromise or push you for something that you don't respect?
Well, if you need dialogue with someone, it's better to get their respect first, right? It's going to make it easier to achieve what you want to achieve.
That's a fair point.
If you have to get their respect, do you want dialogue with that person?
But if you have to, I mean, if you use government, right?
Rabbit hole.
I mean,
This is the guy's got a crusade. You're right, Mikey. Anything you say, man, I respect.
Just start a crusade. Settle down here.
Put the
Let
sword
me
down.
get my shield. Wait there. Yeah, but I mean, in
you
a
both made
government
fair points.
situation, right? Like you don't want to have to deal with these guys, but you haven't got a choice. You're in an organisation that, and as men in life, we have to do things quite often we don't want to do, right? Mm-hmm. It's just part of being a bloke.
Fair.
So you can stand your ground, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Would you need the respect? Maybe not.
I just think it comes back to yourself. It's like if we're not comfortable in our own skin and we're looking for validation in people and we're not getting it from where it's meant to, that's an issue for you to resolve and work through that in your own personal life. For me, I just try and treat everyone how I want to be treated. And even if I deep down don't respect someone, I'll still treat them like I do because that's more reflection of who I am. You know, we can be challenged by that every day. There's people you work with, people you come across that you mightn't agree who they are, but to get respect back, even though we mightn't agree with who they are, that it's still our value to respect them anyway. And you don't want to pick it apart too much, but at the end of the day, we want to be kind to others and treat people how we want to be treated. And even if that person's a bad person, that's not up to us to judge. The big man looks after that.
Good thought.
Good answer, mate.
I did ask ChatGPT the same question. If respect is earned, not given, why do so many crave to earn it from people they don't even respect? Chat said this, because validation is a shortcut to certainty. The human brain equates respect with safety and social survival. When others approve, it signals belonging, status, and stability. Even if the source of that respect is hollow, the recognition still feeds the system. From a logical view, men crave respect from those they don't value because they've confused external status with internal worth. It's efficient but empty.
What are
Heavy.
we going to say?
Well, when I asked it what you think, how do you think men would respond? They wrote this. Because deep down, humans want to matter even to those who don't matter to them. They chase respect from people they don't value because a part of them still fears being unseen, unnoticed, or forgotten. It's not about the other person. It's about the part of the human spirit that doubts whether it's done enough to be recognised, to be counted, to mean something. Humans want proof they're significant. But the moment a person stops chasing it, it starts living in a way that earns their own respect. That's when the craving dies. The paradox is, the second a human stops chasing it, they start becoming the type of person others respect naturally.
Chad
coming on insanely there. That last part there, right? The paradox is that the second that a human stops chasing it, that's when they start becoming the type of person that is naturally respected. Heavy. Oh, chat. Come on, that's preaching today. Oh, chat, well done. Well, guys, that was Man vs. Machine. Respect is earned. That's massive. Righto, Mikey, over to you, buddy, for Out and About.
Guys, another great week at the barbecue. We've got a group of ladies that in Caloundra who every couple of weeks they all get together and they put a heap of tin goods together. They put like hygiene products, and we get Kent from us, good old slow cooker. If you're listening, Kent, thanks, bud.
Just like that.
He's not that. He's barely that slow. But they
just his accent.
Brought a heap of food along, and we actually set up a big pantry on the square this week. So we had a couple of tables just full of goods to be given away, and it was packed, man. We had, again, another 100 hot dogs. Guys, great results from it. Everyone had a great conversation. Met some new guys. Actually met one of the AJs this week, mate. One of the new guys that came to Budger and come along, and keen to get involved.
What's his name?
Forgotten. I know he's listening as well, which sucks. It was a big week, right? So this week's been massive. We barely got to the square because I towed the trailer. We barely made it. It almost didn't happen.
Still can't park on the curb.
Yeah, I drove past Macca's and everything nearly stopped. But no, it was again phenomenal week. We had some great conversations, and it was good fun, man. Wayne wasn't there, so
even better.
Let the side down. Yeah, everyone was like, it was a good night. Vibe was up.
Also, a couple of things on that real quick too is that I want to give a big shout out to Monica, this lady we helped a little bit last year behind the scenes with something that's happened, and since then she's gone to town with getting us so many clothes and stuff donated to be able to give out, which has been phenomenal. But this week I didn't give them to you yesterday, but there's 2 big bags of more clothes that Monica's gone out there and resource so we can start giving some more clothing out to people. Another thing that she has organised, which I think is fantastic, and I'm expecting an answer this week, but she's reached out to a lot of local barbers, and we're looking, because they're heading into summer, a couple of barbers coming down and doing some free haircuts for the homeless people to
Bro,
get them all
I'm in.
Cleaned up. Yeah,
I'm in.
which is going to be great. So more on that to come. I'll give a shout out to those barbers out there that have put their names forward. But I think that'd be a good thing. They'll come out one day, we do the feed, get some clothes out there to people.
Love it, man.
A few little trendy haircuts.
Guy's going to be walking away looking sharp.
But you know what I will say that though, which is pretty cool, and what I'll say that is that this is these are these small things that you actually don't think of that matter to people that are doing it pretty tough. Simple haircut, like
luxuries we consider.
Things that we don't even.
That's dignity for someone.
Mate, 100%. And it's when she said it, I'm thinking, why haven't we thought of that? Like that's a great idea. Fantastic. So, Monica, you're an absolute legend. I know you listen to the podcast actually, and thank you for everything you do, because I know you do a lot behind the scenes. So you're an absolute legend. Guys, I'll touch up on the meetups. Meetups have been going great. So current locations, we've got Budrum, Brightwater, Mooloolaba, Brightway Island, Albany Creek, and in Pakistan. Guys have been going some great. I mean, get some photos. The guys, you can just see in their faces how much the fellas are loving being a part of it, and we love hosting these guys. It's just great to see some numbers, new faces, always really good. If I haven't responded to a message yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm up to date, but a lot of inquiries on, what do we do? Do we just turn up? That is literally what you do. You just turn up. They only go for an hour a week. We cover the same topics that we cover on the podcast here, but it's just on a very smaller setting, 5 to 10 blokes. but it's heavy hitting. We don't muck around. We're not here to fluff around like we say to you guys. We keep it real and raw as we can with none of the BS. We just want to get down to the nitty gritty. We want to battle and deal and confront these things that men go through and find a way out. And if you can't find it amongst a bunch of other blokes, well, I don't think you'll find it anywhere, because there's so many men out there with lived experiences that have gone through some stuff. And if you can take a page out of the book, mate, this is what it's all about. So, guys, if you want to, you can reach out to us on our socials. With Facebook, our website, see all the locations, the times, all that kind of stuff. And you can hit us up and come along. It'd be great to see us. Righto, guys, we're going to head over to the main topic and introduce our guest. Look, there comes a moment in every man's life when noise fades, and all that's left is silence. And for most, that silence is uncomfortable. But for some, it becomes the start of everything real. And today's guest, well, he knows that silence pretty well. He's a bloke who left Goulburn at 15 chasing a dream, fought his way through the NRL, playing the highest level in 4 different clubs, then crossed over the other side of the world and played in the UK. He's been cheered by thousands, broken by the injury, and humbled by life. But what makes his story powerful isn't the tackles or the jerseys, it's what came after. Because the truth is, when the stadium lights went out, the noise disappeared, he faced something far tougher than any front row forward, and that was he had to face himself. From the highs of professional sport to the crash of retirement to the quite redemptive moment of faith that rebuilt him from the ground up. This is a conversation about identity, surrender, and what happens when the man behind the athlete finally steps forward. So today, we're going to go down a topic called From Footy to Faith with NRL legend Dayne Weston. Welcome to the show, mate.
What an intro, mate.
You like that one?
Make me sound important.
Yeah, well, I just
Wayne's getting pretty good at these intros, man.
No, I appreciate that, mate.
thanks to ChatGPT once again. No. No, you're actually you're quite a remarkable person to do a bit of research behind, buddy. And I mean, I obviously knew about you through footy already, but to put a few things together, you're a good dude, man. I'm
Bigger
glad
in
you've
real
come.
life.
Yeah, that's why I've actually said that. I actually don't like you. I just have to say it because you're massive. You can crush me in the hand.
It's been a decorative, life, mate. A roller coaster, to say the least. But grateful to be here today, and really love the opportunity to share my story, because I know it'll help someone, and if it helps one person, I've done my job. And that's always been my mindset around that. And I once wasn't in this position of being open and vulnerable and talking about my feelings. So, my testimony is an example of, light at the end of the tunnel and working through what we need to. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome, man. No, we're glad you made the effort, because you've taken a bit of a drive to get up here. You had to spend a few hours at the terrible Mooloolaba beach, so sorry for that. The view's terrible, isn't it? It's beautiful down there.
Beautiful down there.
No, we appreciate you joining us, mate, and I want to hear your journey, mate. I want to present the journey to the fellas out there listening, because it has been a journey. I mean, you've gone through, leaving home at 15 to footy, and now to who you are. I want to start back to that young boy, because you've said publicly in the past that when you left home, which was Goulburn, that you had to stand on your own 2 feet, and you were 15 years old, I think, by memory, that you were, you left home. Were you pushed out of home at 15, or were you pushing yourself towards something, a dream in your own heart?
Yeah, no, I was chasing a dream. Since I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was play NRL, and we played in the Canberra competition, being from Goulburn, and I just was not getting an opportunity. I wasn't big when I was a kid, and unfortunately was looking to play a position that Todd Carney was playing as well, and he just pipped me. But there was just no opportunity for what I wanted to do at that time, and so I was ready to give up footy. And Dad we had a trial against Dapto, and he's like, I'll take you to Wollongong if you're serious about having another crack. And so he did. At 14, I was travelling from Goulburn to Dapto to play there. It was about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, training twice a week, play over weekend. And then after a while, I was like, the Dragons wanted to put me on a scholarship and send me to Dapto High for year 11 and 12. And so I just jumped at it. And it was a bit of a tricky one too, because my parents went through a divorce just only 18 months before that. And so it was just me, my dad and my sister at home, and that was probably one of the hardest parts of my life. So then to go through that and to move out, I struggled with it because I live with a family of 4 boys, a boarder who was also a male, then myself. And so the hardest struggle I had with that was being around a family environment that I didn't have. So I got really homesick and I started playing up a bit and acting out and pretty much like a sport brat until I got moved into the Dragons house, which was in Wollongong with 18-year-olds. We had a Filipino nanny that would come and cook and clean, and I thought that's the life. And I wasn't ready for it, but I grew up pretty quick. And I've said before, like psychologists would tell me it was detrimental to my childhood, but a lot of other aspects to that I'm really grateful for because it made me who I am, but it made me implement a lot of great habits from a young age.
Because 15's young. I mean, I've got 4 kids. My youngest is 16. And so if I go back a year from now to him 15 to leave home, it's a young age, man.
Yeah, and to put him, my eldest is 15. He's 16 in February. And, I love him. He's such a bright young kid, but there's no way he could move out of home.
Yeah. Do you think because times are different, or do you think that you were different?
I think a bit of both, mate. I think there's a lot of my life where I wouldn't say fend for myself, but I had a lot of great guidance from mum and dad, good values and stuff, but there's a lot of time I spent alone. And I suppose I didn't have a choice. So I think this day and age we probably look after kids probably too much, arguably. We probably do too much for them at times and don't let them grow themselves.
Agreed there, for sure.
But we do it out of love, and that's a fine balance, especially for me, with a split family and not having the kids at home now. So it's trying to be their dad from a distance is really challenging, but one we make work.
It's interesting, hey, the system's set up for that. Like you need to travel young or move young. That's kind of the way they've set the system up, that when you get recruited, they are looking at 14, 15-year-olds and moving it through. So as a young man dreaming of NRL, to be sitting in that space where you have been recruited, the cost of that, how did you juggle the excitement of actually living the dream that most people don't get to versus the reality of it being a really hard situation? How did you balance that?
I didn't, you don't have a choice. It's either you do this or you don't do this kind of thing. And you don't look at it as a kid. You just get on with it because you think that's part of it. It's only on reflection when I go through some of the hardest times of my life that you kind of look at it and you're like, wow, I was doing things I wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
I was being a person at that young age that, there's no way I should have moved into that Dragons house. And not that it was a bad thing. Like, they were all great people, but I'm exposed to people going out. I was, fake license. I was, going out, of a night of school, going to school the next day. Like, at the time you think you're bulletproof and you're doing all these things, but they're probably not the greatest things to be doing. And it's not, but it was just part of it, unfortunately. Like, you look at kids now, and even on the Gold Coast, to be able to go to schools like Palm Beach, Currumbin, and then play for the Titans, it's, always envied. I had one of my good mates growing up as a kid that was from Dapto, played at the Dragons all his life, and that would be incredible, to be able to do that around your family and not have to do that. But in saying that too, like, it's all, builds a lot of character in you as well, like a lot of lived experience, and that's why I've always enjoyed everywhere I've went, because it's taught me something. And I think looking back now, like anything that I approach in life, it's like we can either look at things it's happening to us or it's happening for us. And I think that's a choice. Like, we have the decision to make. And I look back now and I'm grateful for it, but I probably lost a lot of my childhood because of it. But I made that decision. No one forced me to do that.
Does that make you become overprotective now of your kids' childhoods? Like, are you trying to protect their younger years?
I'm always encouraging them to do so much. We live on the Gold Coast, mate. Like, that was a holiday once in a blue moon for me from the country. So I'm sometimes get frustrated because we live 5 minutes from the beach, and I'm like, I'd love to surf, but my structure probably not the easiest one to start learning now.
Is there a board on
That's
there?
a big holiday.
But I just, that
How do you
feeling
support
of
300 kilos of muscle? Is it 3 boards? Or
He's out there on a dinghy.
surfing a tinny.
But that feeling of being on a wave, like, I look at people doing it, and I know mates of mine that love it, like mentally too, just to go out and do that. Like, I had a Harley once upon a time, and that's probably the closest I could get. I'd jump on my bike and just no thoughts, and it was just freeing for me, And I think surfing would be and like anything, you learn young, it's easier to implement. And with surfing, my eldest will jump on a bodyboard and he'll take it or leave it, but it's a hard one. You don't want to push them, but at the same time, it's like you've got to gently encourage them to be getting outdoors and look what we've got surrounding us. Like I think too, from being from the country, I learned to have fun with nothing. And you make stuff up along the way, but I suppose they probably spoilt the kids up here now. Like they got everything, so everything's a holiday, and it's like, what else can they strive for? When they've got it all.
Send them to Goulburn.
Yeah, mate, they've done some trips there. Don't worry.
I think it's spot on, mate. I mean, again, raising 4 kids in a society that we have today, you as the father, we do so much to provide for them that sometimes that can be the detriment in the building of their character. Because I hear my youngest son especially. Loves his video games, right into it. He's competed in the past. He's really, really good at it. But there's been times where I'm like, hey, mate, give the games a break, come down, we'd be a part of this and all of that. And you instantly hear within 30 seconds, I'm bored. I'm like, why are we afraid of that word now? Because there's character building. There's so much to learn in being bored. Creativity, sparks. And so I'm like, that's great. I'm glad I'm hearing you say you're bored.
What were you doing at his age?
At 16.
Yep.
It was gangs at 16.
Gangs?
Yeah.
I was expecting to say you were working. I was working.
I was working part-time at KFC.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Eating full-time.
You've come a long way.
No, but I mean, I for
Working a customer.
Sorry, it's hard out. I'm picturing this like vicious gang. Hang on, boys. Oh, I got to go. My shift starts at KFC. You want to drive through today?
The KFC crew. Yeah.
Get us some chicken wing.
when I finish serving these nuggets, I'm coming back to here.
What was the gang called?
You don't want to know. It was actually called the Syndicate. Yeah. I know.
Say that again?
No, just blurt that part out. Remember, 14 minutes in, edit that part out. No, but it's true. But why are we afraid of? One, we over nurture, but I wonder if we over nurture this generation because is the world a worse place than what it was?
Definitely.
So maybe we over nurture out of being that protective role.
Well, even the exposure, like I even look at social media and just the gadgets they're all exposed to. We never had that as a kid. I remember getting a Nokia, and playing Snake and thinking like how cool I was to secretly play it at high school, and to show the kids that now, they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But, there's everything's so accessible to them, and that's the scariest part. And my wife is all over that stuff and gets a lot of kickback from the kids. My two, obviously they don't live with me anymore, but when they got limited access on that. And, mate, in the past, when I was a single dad, I was probably guilty of allowing them to go on it too much because it was like a babysitter. And, that was just reality. I'm not proud of it, but that's this day and age for a lot of parents, and I see it firsthand, and I was one of them, that it's easier to give it to them, but it's like a drug. I was having a conversation about this the other day, and it's like another family friends that don't give their kids a lot of sugar, and they're so strict on it. They get kickback, but they'd rather that argument about that than feed them full and then what they get from it, because kids that aren't used to it, it's like drugs.
Yeah.
My stepson's exactly the same, and that's why my wife has never, allowed him to have much because of that reason. And everyone's like, oh, he's going without, and like it's just some lollies. He still gets some, but it's just not every day, all day, like a lot of kids do. But definitely that, and I think kids have lost the ability to communicate in person, like be sociable. Because, even as adults, like I see people I know that are so extrovert on social media, but you see them at the cafe and they're like head down and hardly string 2 words together.
Can't make eye contact.
And I'm just like, what's that all about? Like I'm the other way, like trying to even think about doing that, scares me more than just having a conversation with some mates. Like, so there's a lot to say about that too, but I think there's the exposure to what they have. Literally one click, they could be seeing anything.
Yeah, I think it's proportionate, isn't it? How much technology is able to help us, but proportionally detrimental to our kids who don't use it well, and adults as well. But we're seeing now, like everything's, even the biological side of our world is being changed. Like kids are going through puberty at 9 now, and they're introducing things younger and younger and younger. The age of consent has dropped. All those things, like as our world has expanded, it's actually become so much smaller.
Yeah.
And I think we tend to overprotect our kids from the world. This is the fear we always go through as parents is, am I doing too much? Have I swung too far? Like I had it one way. I got strict growing up, so now I'm really liberal with things, and vice versa. I think we've got to really come back to what do we believe in that, especially as parents, because there's going to be advice both ways or every way of what really works, but it's got to be intrinsic to us. So as a dad for you, like I know you don't have a career you have without being extremely driven and focused. Even as a young man, like you've got to carry that through. Do you see that coming out in your kids as well? And if not, how do you balance that? Because I'm sure that's something that's important to you. And that's a big part of what we're talking about with kids just not being driven for anything these days, as opposed to your life growing up.
They're completely different to me, the kids. I think there's elements of my two boys that are, you see attributes that come out that are like me. Probably my youngest is probably driven like a little entrepreneur, not that I was, but he's got a focus when he fixates himself on something, he'll just puts everything into it. And I suppose he's a bit like me in that sense. Like I'm an all-in kind of person. If I want to do something, I'm all in. So, but it is hard, mate. And to be completely honest, like my kids have been 15 and 13, and they've been out of home now for 12 months, so they live with their mum full time. That wasn't my decision, but at the same time, it's hard for me when their mother and I don't speak, and that's not my decision either, but it's hard to parent from afar. Like, and as a father, there's so much that they need from me, and I can only get it in spits and spurts, and that's been one of my biggest challenges. The kids don't have, their phones have been taken off them, so contact with me has to go through either her mother or the grandmother, and that is a real big challenge, one that I used to let affect me for so long, because I was just like, they could be getting fed anything, and it's not who I am, and it's not. But I'm still their dad, and I deserve to, be respected for that and have a big influence on their life. But it is, mate. It's a huge challenge for me, and I just have to continue, every day control what I can control, but then have grace at the same time to understand that other people are hurting through this. There's a lot of unhealed pain that comes with that, and that's not for me to sort out, but it's all for the kids, mate, at the end of the day, and that's what, hurts me the most in this situation. It's like I just want everyone to be amicable to a point to understand the impact, because I've been in those kids' shoes and I know what it's like to have parents separated at such a young age. So, but, nothing's impossible, mate. I see they're great at school. They've got so many things that I'm, so grateful for. They know they're right from wrong. Like, they're good kids, and sometimes I could beat myself up the father I was back in the day, but then at the same time I look at it and I'm like, I've taught them so much, and I'm proud of that, and I've made my mistakes, but at the same time, you can't get hung up on that, because we can't change what's happened, but we can just control what we do today and tomorrow.
That's great.
Yeah.
Your life before footy, so 15 was when you moved out of home. Who was that kid growing up?
I always had a dream to play rugby league. Dad will tell you that I just followed anyone who was winning. There's pictures of me with a Bulldogs jersey as a little kid.
Tigers?
Then a Panthers one.
Tigers,
Did we ever win? Did we ever win?
I think whoever was winning the grand final, I was born in 86, so I was like, I don't know who won it then, but there's pictures in the Bulldogs, Panthers, and I end up being a Broncos fan.
Yeah, my man.
And
My man. I was waiting.
Not anymore.
I was waiting. They were winning a lot in the 90s, so surely.
That's what got me back to back. And that's all I ever knew. Like, as a kid, going back, reflecting, I love footy. I used to play, by myself in the front lounge room and emulate game always on the hooter.
Golden point. Golden point
in the front yard, like people that lived in my street would always know me for that kid that was out the front playing footy, literally by myself a lot of the time, and kids in the street sometimes, but I could literally spend a lot of time by myself and be okay with that. Whether that was as healthy as it was later in life, I learned to understand, but I was actually always okay, and why, I don't know, because, obviously I can't remember what I was feeling then, but I just know that I was a kid that just wanted to be loved, and unfortunately, I had a conditional love all my life, and it was based on how well I was doing, and because footy become such a big, part of my life, that was almost like the focus. And I was only talking about it today with a family friend, and he said, like, on reflection, he played a big part in my journey, and he's like, from the outside looking in, it looked like you were doing it for other people. You weren't doing it for you. And I don't know why, man, but it rattles me every time I think about it, because I'm like, there's this picture of me standing against the wall just before we go into the front house. It was my first day primary school, and my wife seen it, and I had to share it with a podcast I went on and share some photos, and my wife picked up this photo, and it's just like, I feel sorry for that young boy, and I don't know why, man, but it rattles me every time I think of it. And I think the biggest reason, and speaking to my mate today, and he confirmed it, is like, I was carrying stuff that I shouldn't have at such a young age, but at the same time, I wasn't getting love how I wanted it. I just wanted to be loved for who I was, and I then felt like I needed to play good footy to be loved. And literally the first time today, literally having lunch with my mate at the surf club, I was just like, that's really affirmed what I've always thought, which I've always known. But from an outsider who was a big part of my life around when mum and dad split up, to actually affirm that today, it was, I don't know, but I just think I was a kid that just wanted love, and I was a kind kid. I was always cautious. I never wanted to get in trouble. I was always, I always had good friends. Like, I was never lonely like I was a loner kid, but always helpful. Like, I was always trying to help other people, which has naturally flowed on my life now. But I love my motorbike. Like, I had a dirt bike, as a young kid, and got a bit of mischief with that. But I suppose it was just, that's in a nutshell me as a kid. And I just found that rugby league was my way to probably feel what I wanted to feel, unfortunately, in some aspects.
How does a young boy, you called it conditional love, how does a young boy that's only experienced conditional love, how does he grow into a man that can express unconditional love to his kids? What's the change? Like, what taught you that?
Jesus Christ. I for so long, like, because it was from such a young age, it was like implemented my identity. So I was just like, well, that's who I am. Like, I believed who I was, but it's like, because I didn't get what I wanted, I just had to play this role of Dayne, the rugby league player. And I'm like, because when I do well, I get what I want, as far as love is concerned. And then that flows on into my adulthood, and I'm literally always felt like I don't need anyone else in my life. Like, because I was out of home such a young age, I learned to do everything on my own. So I hated relying on people. I've always had that. Like, I'd rather do something myself if I can do it. But then, as I grow older, I don't learn it until I'm pretty much, not here. I literally get to the darkest part of my life before I learn that that's not who I am. And a lot of it, mate, was I got caught up in, the fame of playing professional sport, earning a lot of money, it not being an issue, still going through a roller coaster, but the culture of drinking and taking drugs. There was times where my ego carried me through my whole career to a point where, I could compartmentalize my life like a genius, like, and it's scary, like, but I could be a certain person in one room and I could be a certain person in another room and not have any, worries about what's just happened. I'd be unfaithful. I'd play up like no tomorrow and do all these things, but I wouldn't have a conscience about it. And it's like, because I could put that away to the side and then just turn up and be a father and a husband. And when I come to training, that was a masking agent for me. So I just got on with it. And it wasn't until I literally got saved where I understood, unconditional love. It's like, because I'm loved now unconditionally despite everything that I've done. And, at the end of the day, like, I'm forgiven for everything that I've done, and I understand that and fully grasp it, man. Like, none of us will fully comprehend Jesus' love for us. And for me, like, to know it now, like, I think too, like I shared something, not get off topic, but I shared a video on my social media of actually the crucifixion and actually seeing like what he went through. And it gets me emotional, man, because I'm like, there's people talk about Jesus or, God and having a faith and, boo-hoo it or whatever. But when we actually look at it, what he did for us to set us free and to go through what I've gone through and then to know that he loves me anyway, it's all I ever wanted. And so to know that I have a loving father that gives me what I've always wanted, like I'll sign up for that every day of the week, So I know, and I don't like the word religious because I have a relationship with God. I'm not a religious person. I don't set the rules or anything like this, and it's my relationship with him. But I now understand who I am, how loved I am and the purpose that he has on my life. And that is to help people, and to help people in my position. But for men and people in general to understand how loved and, valued they are, and despite their flaws and despite what they're, endured in their life, that there's a way through and they deserve happiness. There's so many people beat themselves up, with their past, and get stuck in that and don't find a way out. So, yeah, it's one that's, to answer your question, that's literally when I first understood it, because before that I still believed that, I was seeking love in so many different ways.
So many questions for me. Two main ones that come out, like obviously the point where you said you found Jesus, like in an environment that you speak about, like, drugs and money and success and fame and all these things that you can't compartmentalize. How do you be in that space? Where do you find Jesus in that? How did that look like for you? Because they seem worlds apart.
Well, it wasn't until that was all over, mate. So eventually I go through, the darkest time of my life, and then I made a decision to start focus on, me, get my life in order. And 4 weeks after I made that decision to, start looking after myself and stop feeling sorry for myself, I met my wife and my now wife, and things just started to happen. And naturally, she was a Christian, and I remember at the start, like I always believed in God. Like as a little kid, like I prayed for mum and dad to split up because I'd sit there and listen to them fight, and I just, I hated that. I hated the fact that would happen, and I used to just pray to God, like just split them up. So it was always something. I never was against it. I had teammates that were Christians that, I wouldn't say pushed it on me, that tried to encourage me, and mate, I didn't want a bar of it. I just come out of high school and I didn't really understand, but then eventually, like I said to Lydia, like my wife, I'll come to church. She said, I'm going to church on Sunday, and I was doing it to impress her at first, but I was going because I was like, well, that's important to you, then, I want to support that. And I remember the first time I walked into church, and our church down in Tweed Heads, it's like an auditorium, and it's like a ramp from the top to the bottom. And as I always said, it just felt like I was walking out on the footy field, like about for kickoff. Like the worship was playing, and such a powerful moment. But I was sharing with someone the other day, the first few times I went to church, people falling on the ground, and we're like second row from the front, and my wife's going, oh God, like, this is not what it's not always.
This is normal.
Yeah.
Just absorb. What the hell's going on?
You see those two walking up, you're like, please not those two, this week is new.
yeah. There's a new guy here.
But and so after weeks of going, and no one ever pushed it on me, which is the best advice I give to anyone that's, has a faith and wants to see people come to Christ. And I got introduced to our pastor, and my wife lost her father when she was young, and so when she was at the church, they become like, almost like, I wouldn't say father figure, but they protect her and knew, her pain. And so when I come on the scene, Locke always talks about, when I meet this bloke, I'm going to have a bit of a word to him and make sure,
Is he second guessing when he met you?
He's quite a tall guy himself.
No, you're good.
No, he's as tall as me. But he has that joke. He's like, I had this thought I was going to give you all this lecture and whatnot, but we just built a relationship between us. He never pushed anything on me, and like I said, it was the best thing that happened in weeks of going, and I just was impacted by it, so deeply. And I've always said I've never really been concerned of what people think of me. It's it comes across arrogant sometimes, and maybe there's an element of it, but I'm comfortable who I am. I never agreed or understood who I was for a long time because I thought that, who I was Dayne the footy player, but it's never what I wanted.
Yeah. So
I was always, conscious of being comfortable in my own skin. But if that was a decision I wanted to make, I'm making it and I'm proud of it, so unashamed and want to, like I said before, go all in, So we see it today, everything's changing with that. We see sports people be so open about their faith, which is so encouraging, especially young kids. We have such an opportunity where we're at, a power of influence for a lot of people. And it's like, well, when we're on TV or getting interviewed, why aren't we talking about it? Why are we keeping our faith hidden a lot of the time? And it is because of the fear of man. There's a lot of fear around, what's someone going to say, or I'm going to be judged by saying this or whatnot. And that's why I love people like Izzy Folau, stood there. And I love the story of Job around that as well. It's such a strong man of faith that had pretty much everything stripped away, and he standed, strong in that, and then everything was multiplied, and Izzy was a testament to that. But yeah, I think now it's been about a leader in that space and encouraging other people that is the way. And if people ever want to talk to me about it, I'm always open. But I never, it's all about creating an atmosphere for someone and having that connection and building that relationship. And then if they want that, they know that what you're about, and you just plant those seeds and hope one day that they come home.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, to talk about that as the kid who wanted to be loved, right? So football was the outlet where you found that. Hearing that story, obviously at the pinnacle of your career, all the accolades, the fame, everything that you think that kid should feel loved at that point, it sounds like that never got closer, and to think we strive for things and we think we're going to get value out of it. It's interesting to hear someone speak at the top of their game to still go, I was in my darkest moment. And I still think about there was still that, 12-year-old Goulburn boy in the midst of this huge career that still went, I'm just a kid who needs love, right? So you're striving for it. Then you find unconditional love. What changes in you at that point to now work from a place of unconditional love? How did your perspective change on life?
Oh, just so much gratitude, mate. I was talking with a mate today who he's done quite well financially. He's a builder and he's selling a house on the Gold Coast, millions. And I was there today and it looked like a resort. He just blown away by this place. And I said, what's next? And he said to me, I'm not sure, Westo. He goes, I don't really care, actually. He's like, it doesn't really bother me. He's like, I'm sick of chasing. I'm sick of trying to build the biggest house or, getting caught up in all these things, and I don't know. I just want to take some time for myself. And it's such a, he's from Goulburn. I grew up with him and he lives on the coast, but I come away from it going and we haven't caught up in a while. And I was I just felt like he needed me there today. And I walked away from, when you have that feeling of just today was meant to happen and we meant to have the time we had this morning. And it just was so real to me. And it's such a living, example where someone's got so much money, but there's still a sense of unfulfillment there. And I can only speak for my own story, mate, because I was willing to give all that up because I couldn't deal with my own stuff. And money wasn't an issue. I had homes. There wasn't something that I was going without. Yeah. But I see so many people, and again, it's not to judge, it's just to say it how it is, that financially are well off and they're still missing something, and I know what it is, but it's, that unfulfilled life. You can buy the flashiest cars and the nicest homes, but if you don't have God and Jesus in your life, it's only going to help you for a short period of time. And I was talking to someone the other day about this as well, and I love Philip Mitchell, and he says it how it is, but he says we're always talking about Christ in a way that what he does for our life, but we're never telling people we love what happens if we don't follow Christ, and it's so true. We look at it and we're always praising Jesus and for what he does in our life and what's so, we're so blessed because we have that relationship with him. But I think far too often we miss the point where it's like we've got loved ones out there that are not saved. You know, we've got people in our lives that aren't saved, but we just kind of sit back, and that's why it's a tricky one where it's like you don't want to throw it down their throat, but there comes a time where it's like, well, what are you doing with this then, you know? So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think my perspective of the whole thing is like we can't take it with us. I know it's a cliche, but at the end of the day, it's like there's times like right now I'm in a position where I'm up to my eyes in child support, and there's things where I could easily turn away from it and be like, poor me, you know, like this, that and the other. But I was helping out a mate yesterday doing a bit of extra work, and I literally had a moment with myself, and I was like, you know, maybe this is a result of my own choices. You know, like I'm not, you know, it's not poor Dayne, I've got to do something more to cover child support, and I'm doing whatever it takes for my family. And I'm like, but they're all based on decisions I made, and I made some poor ones back in the day. But I'd never looked at it like that. I looked at it like everyone should almost bow down to me because I earned the money and I did this. And I used to think that my ex-wife, and you know, if we look back, she probably should have left me years before she did. But I had the mentality of like, I earned the money, I do all this thing, you don't have to do a thing, you know, and that's how it should be. Where, ultimately that's not, you know, the case. But yeah.
Wow.
Dayne, going back in that story a little bit, you mentioned that as a young boy at the club, you were going through some stuff, and some of the Christian lads on the team were trying their way to, you know, introduce you to what could be, what you've now found. What changed? Why didn't you take it there, and how did you end up?
I think because of what we choose to sacrifice to lead a Christian life. You don't want to do that at 18. You know, you leave high school. I was still 17 when I left high school, and I didn't want to, you know, I pretty much lived a life of sin because that's what everyone wants to do. You know, going out, partying, carrying on, sleeping with women, like that's just what I wanted. And I didn't want to give that up because that was the flesh, you know, taking control of me. Where now I'm like, we're tempted every day. Like every day we step out, you know, the flesh can tempt us so many times, but it's like we have that relationship where I'm like, you know, I've got tools and I've got someone that, you know, protects me in those times to know that right from wrong. And I know I don't choose that path because I know who I am, and, you know, but in that time, mate, like I think it's natural for a lot of people to push back, and it's just a lack of understanding. Like I said before, at the end of the day, it's not that I didn't believe in God or whatnot. It's just the people telling me it pretty much led a Ned Flanders life where, you know, and I didn't want to do that, you know, and I openly say it.
That's why I'm asking you, mate, because we have this conversation often. But so do you think those guys that spoke to you then, and you do you think any of that rubbed off and played in your decision down the track? Did any of that stick with you at all? Not
really, mate, if I'm being honest. There's only really one in particular, Dave Simmons. He played on the wing at Cronulla and at Penrith with me, and great man. And again, through all that time, that culture and everything that was going on, he stayed strong, and he was such a great man of God and a great example looking back at it now. But when it came to my decision, that was, nothing really influenced my decision. It was just a heart change, and just knowing that I couldn't control what I was feeling, and I knew, you know, what I had to do, and I haven't looked back. It's honestly the best day of my life, and making that decision, I shouldn't actually say best day of my life. I reckon when I got baptised was probably the most pinnacle point in my life, and just that physical like feeling of coming out of the water, knowing that everything had been washed clean. And I get emotional watching people get baptised now because I know that feeling. And just being forgiven for everything that I've done, and walk out of that old self and into the new one I am now. And I still face what I do day to day, but I've got a different perspective on life. And I suppose, like I said, I'm so grateful for what I have, and to keep focus on that, you know, not on what I don't have. Is important to me.
What do you say to the people that go, NRL footy player, the money, the fame, the women, the drugs, the alcohol, you're literally ticking a box of what most young guys would be striving for. That they would see us like, well, that's what we're doing this for, isn't it? That's what we want, the fame, the footy, the women, the this. It's easy for someone now to look at what you've done and go, oh, yeah, well, you've got it all out of your system. Why not go and try and better yourself now like you've got it out of your system? What do you say to the guy that hasn't got it out of his system or hasn't stepped into that place just yet but's seeking it? You say that, you finding Jesus has been this amazing thing for you, but you've done it after all this. What do you say to the guy that hasn't gone through it yet but still striving for it? Why is God still a better choice in your opinion?
Well, because of how my life is now. I'm like, why we have to take ourselves back to why we want that in the first place. And there's a lack of understanding to begin with, to try and tell a 17 or 18-year-old to give up drugs, alcohol, and you can't go and sleep with women. To most people would be like, sorry, mate, I'm not doing that, which that's what I did. But I see so many, our youth at our church, I see so many great examples of the other side of it. And to know that there's young kids that have got a heart for Jesus at such a young age. And I'm like, even that's, it's so beautiful, mate. Like to see it and to see young leaders at our church get up there and be so passionate about Jesus. It's like, that to me, if I had my time again, that's literally what I'd be doing. Again, everything happens for a reason, but there's more fulfillment in that. And again, it's, you can only share your story, on that, but you can't force anyone to do that. But at the same time, it's like, what means more to you? Like, and I think that's a decision that, again, we make every day, but are we doing that because we're surrounded by people that are doing that? And I think that's a big lesson I had to change in the way I still love and respect a lot of people through the darkest part of my life. But I knew I had to take myself out of that for me to be better. And there could be young men right now that are 18 that probably want to lead a Christian life but feel obliged to get on the drink and do this because that's their friend group are doing that. And so sometimes you see people down that path don't actually choose that path. They also almost just rubs off on them because they're surrounded by people. And sometimes you got to make that tough call to be like, these people don't, they're not for me, and as hard as that sounds, I think sometimes who you're around can influence who you are. And I think I know now and later in life to have so many good Christian men that are surround my life. I don't need 1,000 of them, but I've got enough that keeps me accountable. But to answer your question, mate, it's a hard one to answer because I sound like a hypocrite myself, but I think just knowing that what you get out of that trumps anything that you'll try and do, yourself. And like I said, the flesh will always want to desire that, but it's having control over that and knowing that God will always prevail through it all. And you might think, and that's why you were talking earlier about marriage so young. It's like, well, that's the way God's designed marriage. It's like, well, we don't have sex before marriage. We don't do all this because we save that because marriage is such a beautiful thing. I think we miss the mark on a lot of that in society where we just like, it's just part of the process. We hang out and we're together for 10 years and so it's about time we get married, and we've been living in sin. But people that don't actually understand that, that's just life. They don't grasp that. But probably a roundabout way, but
how did it come to you? Who was it? A specific, in particular person that said, "Hey, let's go for coffee. I want to tell you something." Then you responded to it, or was it a gradual thing that you had in your own life that you led up to it?
I made the decision,
yeah.
So after just going, having the conversations with Locke, our pastor, and then just weeks of going, I just never felt like it. The worship to me has always been really powerful, and it is still today. My wife will tell you I play it way too much, but and there's times where I'm just like, music's always been something that gets me. Like I was with someone the other day and they're like, you love listening to real thoughtful music, and it wasn't worship, and I'm like, I just love music that means something, and worship, you can't get better than that. And so I just felt really this sense of his presence in those moments where it's something I hadn't felt before, and I didn't understand, and I'm still learning as a Christian. But I remember afterwards going across to the pastor's house. He lives just down the road, and he prayed for me. And it wasn't until I got home where I was in my own space, my own time, and I just got down on my knees and gave my life to Christ, and that's how it happened. And I didn't know what I was doing, how it was, meant to play out. There's some kind of, way of doing this, but you see people at church put their hand up, they get that opportunity at the end of the service to give their life to Christ, and that's so powerful. But
So you were by yourself, you're saying?
I was by myself, yeah.
Wow.
I was literally in my walk-in wardrobe at home in my old place. And
War room.
there we go, no one home, and I just said that was where I did it. And like I said, there's no rule to it now. I understand, but then I'm such a structured kind of thought-out person. I'm like, am I doing this right? But God knows our heart before, and knows my decision before I knew it, and I think that's cool. The closer I align my heart with Him, because we're always trying to be in control of our narrative and our life, but He's already working it out before we even know it. And I think the closer that alignment with His heart is in our life, I think everything just naturally flows better because we're not taking. I was such a control freak, all my life. Like, everything had to be the way I wanted it, and now I'm understanding that there's things happen in my life where I almost smile sometimes and like, that's His work, and that's not an accident. It's not an accident I'm here today. I always say everywhere I am is part of the plan, and I'm so grateful for it because, I'm being obedient to Him. And I think that's when your alignment's lined up with Him, it's effortless, and you understand you're doing this for something greater than yourself.
Yeah, well, look, we've all been. I mean, look, we say this quite often. I mean, we by no means are not running a Christian podcast here by any means, but there's no way we're not backwards in coming forwards about it either. I mean, we're all hold this.
We've all been to church once, yeah.
This belief, but to hold that belief coming from a personal experience, I think that's what outdoes everything else. Because it's I know it's easy from a listener's perspective to be on the other end of this podcast, hearing that, oh, that's good for you, well, that's good for them. Oh yeah, but that's it's all BS, man. Or but what about all the 400,000 other religions? Or I get that. I've been that guy, right? But when it's personal experience, you go, but you can't. I mean, you can call me a liar, but it's not validated because I know what I know. I know what I've gone through. You can't take away from me truth, and I think that's what I always said on that. Okay, that's great. I know that the message itself can seem far-fetched. I know the message can seem unbelievable, but in comparison to what the alternative of, so many other things out there with just different beliefs, evolutions and things like that, for me, from my own personal experience, I go, but I experienced something that far surpasses other things that have been put forward. And then when you step out of that and you go, no, I think I actually believe this, and then you see it outplay in your life, you can't deny it. No. And you can't deny you can't deny it from whatever position you come from, whether you come from a poor upbringing and still to this day battling to rub two coins together, or whether you come from a experience where the world's laid at your feet and you come from a high profile sporting career. Like, it doesn't matter what angle you come from, we all get to that point where we go, well, hang on, what's the reality here that I'm searching for? What's this missing piece? What is it that I'm searching, I'm not finding? What is it? And when you can come to it, especially in your own thought, when you come to it hidden in your own walk-in robe, mate, you can try and call that out, but that's an experience that you can't take from you, that someone can't take from you.
Yeah, that's right.
Mate, you're in your second marriage. Your first one was glitz and glamour, the world. Second marriage is based around you being a believer and having a whole different way of living. How's that playing out differently for you, mate?
It's been a struggle, mate. I'll say when I met Lydia, she's Portuguese, so she's quite fiery. And it's funny, mate. Well, it's not funny, but like, I grew up like in an environment where we swept everything under the rug, and that was a learnt behaviour for me. And so that's how my first marriage was. We didn't get into an argument really at all through our whole marriage, and we were married for like 7 years. And then when she left, it was the time when everything blew up, and that's why it shocked me. But I understand what I was doing, even though she didn't. So I understand that part of it. So the second time around, when I met Lydia, she was like fiery. And there's a lot of this comes back, and I'll touch on after, is like an abandonment issue I had because mum left. I always had people leave my life. And so when Lydia and I would fight, and I would have fear that, oh, we're going to break up. And like, I love this like girl. Like, she's, you know, in my head when I first met her, I was like, she's the one. And because I had other relationships that were they just weren't it. I was just not feeling fulfilled at all. And it just, I wasn't kind of ready for that. But I kind of didn't want to just keep, you know, sleeping around and being with anyone. I was just like, I don't want that life anymore. And so when I met Lydia, after, you know, sort my life out a bit, early on, it's like, oh, we're on here. And like, you know, we're getting into an argument. And I'm like, it's not even that big a deal. And I'm like, she's blowing this way out of proportion. But I soon learned that that's how she grew up. She had a Portuguese father that could hardly speak English, and her mother as well is Polish. And so there's not one bit of Australian blood in her. And they just always had it out that way. And whether it's right or wrong, but the only good part of that was when they had it out, it was resolved, you know, and they move on. So there's no resentment, there's no bitterness from it, and like, you know, harbouring things for days, where that was my life, where like if someone done something to me, I could hold on to that for so long. And early on, me and Lydia struggled with that because I wasn't used to the way she was used to, and we both clashed a bit because I didn't understand how to be open and honest, you know, and share that, because I still hadn't got there yet. And so when I had my own, you know, partner at the time yelling at me and that, and I'm like, oh, she's honestly going off for no reason. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But as soon as I learned to understand that we probably didn't need to be, you know, yelling as much, and the arguing part could have been probably tailored down a bit, but there's always solution. Her heart was in the right place because she had only learnt what she had learnt, and I was exactly the same. So trying to come to a middle ground on that, to be like, okay, then I understand where you're coming from, and you got to understand, she would start to understand where I'm coming from. Eventually we got to a place, and we don't get it right all the time. Even to this day, there's times where like something will happen and we both, you know,
she's
don't
just
agree
wrong
on
and
it.
you can't fix it.
Yeah. No, but it's early on, it's been really hard. And I think the hardest challenge for me and my wife was the blended family part of it. So she had a young boy, he was 4 or 5 at the time, and I had my 2 boys, and so we probably did that too quick. If we had time over again, we probably don't move us all in together. And then battling with the other parents from previous relationships. It's honestly one of the hardest things I've had to do, is be a stepfather and being a blended family. But so there's always elements of, you know, there's always something happening. But, you know, eventually when Christ is at the center of all that, it literally saved our marriage. Like, we've been, you know, married. We got married in almost 6 years now in February, and back in December last year, we were done. Like, I did something pretty stupid, which I'll have a forever memory of, and nothing. You know, I wasn't unfaithful or anything like that, but I did something, you know, stupid, which I've got to...
Is it a tattoo on your lower back?
No, but
Put a Broncos jersey back on.
We've all been there.
It's a reminder for me of that time, but it's too, like, it was all built up because of my own issues. I held on to a lot of resentment and bitterness towards her ex-partner, who's the father of my stepson. We went through hell with him. It was a really bad time. It was only 12 months into our relationship, and it was something that I struggled as a man, even with my faith, to forgive him. And to this day, he's never said sorry for what he did. And I was like, you know, we're talking about respect people and stuff, and that's a real hard one. But it got to a point where it used to literally bury me so much, I just couldn't let it go. And then I would see my stepson, him and my stepson all the time. And so it would affect our marriage because I wasn't being a great stepfather, and I was still holding on to a lot of this. So it wasn't until I literally was almost, our marriage was over, and a lot of my injury was frustration through, you know, myself. I wasn't disappointed at her, I was disappointed at me because I'd let it get to that part. And I went and met with him, and he reached out. He thought, I was trying to flog him or whatever, and it wasn't. And so my wife messaged him to say, listen, he just wants to have a conversation. And I'd met him and seen him plenty of times, but I knew I needed to go and say, I forgive you. And he doesn't understand. He's not a Christian and probably far from it, but I didn't want anything from him. I thought he may have said something, but I needed to do that because, mate, if it wasn't for Christ in that time and me having the ability to humble myself to go, mate, despite what you've done, I forgive you for everything you've done to our family, and I need you to know that. And he didn't quite understand. But I was like, he understood when I spoke about his son, because I was like, I need to do it because I need to be a better stepfather. And I'm open about that. I haven't been the greatest stepfather in that time, but there's so many elements to our marriage that has been such a struggle, but so grateful for God, because if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have held us together. And we were literally at marriage counselling back in December, and she was done. And there was something shifted after that time, and even the counsellor looked at me and he knew I was broken, but he's like, there's something different about him. He's promised you different things before, and he hasn't come through, but he said there's something different about him today. He's a Christian as well. And again, I've fallen. She gave me another opportunity, mate. She's an incredible person, mate. She shouldn't have. Most people probably would have. There was still a lot of moodiness about my life. There's still a lot of things that would come up and down of my old past, and she could see potentially what my ex-wife used to witness of me, and she hated it. And she's just like, you're just falling back into old ways of how you are. But she's such a loving, caring person. The fiery streak's still in her, but I love her for it. I never want to change who she is, but she's got such a heart for people as well. She went through sexual abuse as a young girl, and that was another challenging one for me to obviously not know who that was and what, but to understand the pain that she went through, gets me upset thinking of that. And I held on to a lot of anger and almost want to find this person. That's how I felt when she first told me. But to know what she's went through as well, there's a lot of pain behind those eyes, and she's doing what I'm doing and trying to help other people that have experienced that and trying to help women and that. So our hearts are aligned with God, but also aligned on the same page where we come from a place of love and we want to help others. And you can't, ask for much more than that in a wife.
That's good.
For your wife's ex-husband, so the stepdad. Oh no, sorry, the ex-husband that's now not in the picture. With the things that he's done in the past, for you to say. But for you to want to spark that conversation with him, something obviously big's happened, right, which we don't need to go into, but something big enough where he saw it as a threat, right? And then you've mentioned that you've had to deal with forgiveness on that part, right? A lot of men would hear that and go, "No, mate, you go and you beat the hell out of the guy, you smash him. Why forgiveness, right?" So I want to ask you, in regards to forgiveness, without saying, because God says so. Why forgive a bloke like that? What does forgiveness do to you as an individual?
Well, it was a prime example. What it was doing to me almost cost my marriage, because I couldn't let go of it. And that's why a lot of people say, I need revenge, and I need them to understand, I'm not letting them get away with that. And I'm like, they don't care. The people that you can't forgive and, you resent and you're bitter towards, they don't care. They're literally, it's gone out of their mind. But it festers so much, and I can only speak from my experience. It festered so much in my life where it used to battle me all the time, whether it had anything to do with my stepson, anytime he'd call or anything, I just couldn't let go of it. And then to a point where I'm like, the whole part of the forgiving is to let it free from you, because anyone that's experienced, I'll never be able to forgive him. It's every time you say that and remind it brings that feeling up, and it just makes you angry. It's you need that gone. I still don't agree with the kind of person he is. I don't have to be best mates with the guy. I'll respect him, be kind to him when I have to deal with him, but it doesn't mean that, and that's why I say forgiveness can be done, but there's still boundaries. You're allowed to have boundaries in place to go, I don't want people to walk over me just because they're like, Dayne will just do something wrong to Dayne, he'll just forgive you. Yeah, but that's all good. I will. But then there's a boundary in place where I'm like, well, you'll never do that again. I'll never allow that again. And I think that's where a lot of people think like they've got to hold on to it so much. But you can forgive, and you forgive in your own heart. You don't have to do what I did and have to go face the person. That was just something I needed to do. But it's because, like I said, they don't care. They've moved past it. It's only hurting you. And again, like my situation, it was not only hurting me, it was affecting everyone in my life because I couldn't let go of it. And so ultimately, like that's what unforgiveness does, is keeps us bitter, keeps us resentful, and literally become people that are unhealed. And everyone else around us gets affected by that, and we think by doing it, the person that we can't forgive is like feeling so down about it. But like I said, I don't care.
We speak a lot of the importance of fathering because we're all fathers here, right? And to some degree, I mean, well, to a huge degree, we're fathers of so many different angles. You've got all girls. I've got predominantly all boys. Steve has
one of each,
and some that we're going to get into further on down the track, but some that comes with its own challenges as well. We've got so many different perspectives and experiences of being fathers, right? And we all know the important role that fathers play. We say it all the time. We know that this world needs fathers, right? Kids need fathers. And we've mentioned it many times as well with the system itself being broken. You see breakdowns of marriages, the family court get involved, and 99% of the time, the kids go to their mum. And it kind of devalues the importance of fathering, right? In your situation, Dayne, you've got a blended family where I want to say not only the honour, but the opportunity to father not only your blood children, but your stepchildren. Are you the same dad to both?
Short answer, no. For obvious reasons, but it's hard, mate, because I'm still trying to rebuild that connection with my stepson based on my inability to be the stepfather I needed to be. So there's times I get frustrated because as a dad, I had rules for the kids, and when I say rules, there's things I accept and don't accept, and a lot of them I'm proud of. But when we first come together, there was rules my wife had for her son, and there was things that he's not allowed to do that my boys could do. And all their life they've been able to do it. And we disagreed so many times on that. I'm like, that's so unfair. Like the kids would go to bed sometimes, especially my youngest, sometimes we'd go to bed, without dinner because he wouldn't eat what was there. And she's like, that's tough life. And I'm like, I've struggled with that because I was like, struggle seeing your kid go to bed upset. And it wasn't a punishment. We're trying to understand that you can't just, there was a lesson behind it, but there was times where because of what we agreed we wanted to do with these kids, there's a lot of disappointment in that. But now, fast forward, now I'm trying to, it's a hard one because they tell us too, like you can't be the father for him because he's got his own father. You almost got to be like a friend towards him, my stepson. And that's a challenge too because when he knows that and as he's got older, he understands, so he manipulates us quite a bit, and I can see it from a mile away. But unfortunately, he's a single child and he's been my wife's, only, child her whole life. So that's all she's ever known. And to a point, spoiled him rotten. His father did as well. So he's only known that. So that's always a challenge. But then when he comes from just having his mum and then comes in at my house and then it's like, oh, this guy's got rules. And not that he didn't have rules, but it was just always him and his mum. Now, he's mildly autistic and he's got ADHD, so that's another element to it. So there was this things I need to understand about his autism, that why he was different to my boys. And then trying to tell my boys that the reason why, not that he gets away with it, but the reasons he can do that or not do that is because he's autistic. Trying to tell that to a 5 and 7 year old, they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. So it was so hard, and I used to think it was so unfair because I'm like, how do we find a fine line here to go, yeah, I understand he's got some problems we need to work through, but then they shouldn't suffer because of that. And then that put pressure on me because it's almost like, and I was getting it from my ex-wife, is like, you're doing all this, all to suit your wife. You're doing it all to, you have no say, and these poor kids have just got to get dragged through it. And there was times I probably believed that. But looking at it now, like Lydia, my wife was doing it for the best of our family. You know, the five of us, not what they were doing when they were with their mum and not when Addison was with his dad. It's our family, you know, and that had to become our new family. And it had so many difficult parts to that, you know.
Yeah,
but
it's so complex, mate.
I think with the kids, I would be lying if I said I'd still. The thing with Addison, my stepson, is I haven't earned the right yet to be the father I need to be for him because of my past. And there'll be times the only thing I step in without Lydia being able to say anything is when he's disrespectful and he's rude to her. And the way he speaks to her sometimes, I'm like, I don't care where I'm at this rebuild stage. I'm not standing for that.
Yeah.
I won't have a 12-year-old boy speaking to my wife like that because it does. Like, he eventually gets put to bed and it's so long for him to get off. And then my wife comes out to have our time, and if he's put her in a bad mood for treating her like that ruins our night. So, of course, I want to step in, not only because you're making the household like that, you need to learn you don't speak to women like that. But for a long time, I didn't have that say because I didn't earn the right because of the way I behaved and my inability as a stepfather. So that's a tricky one. Like, there's things because I've put my own, you know, I've done this to myself and I'm open about it, but I need to get to a stage where there is things that are non-negotiables where I won't stand whether what position I'm in. And the one talking to his mum that way, I'm like, I'll always, you know, step into that. But I need to find a fine balance because as he gets older and it's going to be a lot harder, and my wife knows that. But now with my own two boys, it's like I don't see them as much, you know, so I only get so many hours a week with them. And then it's hard too. There's been times I have to have tough conversations with my boys, and then there's been times where I've had them and they've got out of the car a little bit disappointed with what we've spoken about, but you have to be a dad and put on that role. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, these poor kids, their last memory of me for the week is dad, you know, having to have a stern warning, talking to them about something. And I feel awful until the next time I see him or speak to him about something good.
I tell you what, though, my mum remarried when I was 15, moved in from my stepdad's place. We did not get on at all, right? I would say we hated each other. He probably wouldn't say that. As a 15-year-old, man, we were chalk and cheese. We didn't mix well for a long time. It actually caused some rifts for my mum because, again, torn between a new husband and a son. But I remember on my 30th birthday, and he gets there, and his name's Pete, a legend. And I said to him, Pete, you were never the dad I wanted. And he was kind of like, oh, that's a bit harsh. But I said, but you were always the dad I needed, right? And as a 15-year-old, I could not see for the life of me that everything he was doing as a stepdad, for me, was just conflict. But when I got older, I went, he was actually being a good dad. I just hadn't experienced what a good dad was like. And so as a 15-year-old, I was like, what the hell? Who do you think you are? And I'm firing up. You too strict. You got rules and discipline and consequence. And, you know, I'm living in his house. I was like, but I mean, here I was, the 15-year-old, and it took me a couple of years to grow out of that and go, he's actually everything I needed in a dad, but I'd never experienced a good dad. So looking at your journey, start to finish, I suppose the question in that for me is, as the 12-year-old Dayne throwing a footy around by himself in the street, what did you need at that moment to feel loved from your dad that wasn't happening? And now moving into being a dad yourself, what's your priority of what you give to your kids as a dad?
Yeah, it's a great question, mate. And I think what I needed then was to know that I had somewhere safe where I could be open and share how I was feeling. And I think that's the biggest detriment to my upbringing is I never felt like I had that environment. So everything I was battling, everything I was going through as a young kid, I was like, I never wanted to show that because I was like, I need to perform here. I don't want them to see any weakness from me. And I think the more life goes on and I understand that, I never got it right from the beginning because that was a learnt behaviour. The only way that made me change was, you know, when I went through what I went through, and to then realise, well, I almost wasn't here because I couldn't speak about it. And I had this mask on, like my life was so perfect, but I was dying inside, mate. And then this was all because from such a young age, I learned to just get on with it. And it almost cost me my life. And I now look at it, and I wasn't great at it early on, But like I said before, like I can't control what I've done, but I can control what I do to these kids. And yes, life has made it more, difficult they're not at home. I don't get to see them all the time, but it doesn't shy away from the fact that I can still contact them, despite how difficult that is at times. But always know, and a lot of the time is them just knowing that I can have those conversations to be like, if you're struggling, you come and see me. I don't care if you've done something wrong, you feel like you're going to disappoint me. I literally don't care. And just offering that, and I'm continuing every time I see him. Like I'm like, "How you going?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're good, Dad." And I'm like, "No, how you actually going?" Because it's natural for men in general. It's you'll say, "Hey, mate, how you going?" Yeah, good. How are you? And that's where it ends. But we both could be in a dark place, but it's almost like a greeting now. How you going?
Yeah,
it's not actually we want the answer. It's just like hello.
When someone does answer, like, I wasn't expecting that. Why are you being
How's
honest?
it going? Not too good. Whoa, too deep.
Too vulnerable, bro.
It's more of a
Pump
hello.
the brakes, man. Just give me a good.
That's not what you're supposed to say.
Yeah, you're supposed to say good, then ask me.
So prioritising that as a dad's been important for you, is to build that openness, to not be okay sometimes, but have a place to feel safe within that. That's been a priority for you.
And my only advice to that is too, because I've only had it a couple of times where they've actually opened up. I remember the first time Jet told me he felt anxious, and he could actually articulate the feeling of being anxious. And for someone who was riddled with it all my life, like I could talk to it. And I still to this day haven't shared exactly what happened in my life with the boys. And there's been the last few times, and because my podcast is about to start soon, everyone's going to know about it. And my testimony was on YouTube for a long time, and we haven't spoke about it, but I got the church to pull it off, because I was like, I don't want them to find out my story through a kid at school typing my name in. Because Blaze one day come home from school and was like, "Oh yeah, my mate was a Panthers fan, and then I told him that you played for the Panthers, so we Googled you." And I'm like, and he could be only a few clicks from, a video that, and next minute, oh, there's a video of your dad, and next minute I'm talking about suicide, and that's stuff where I was like, I haven't got to that point, but lately I'm like, they're old enough to kind of know, and they may know some of it already. They may have come across that video, but we haven't had that conversation. But I remember for a breakthrough to my eldest, he was 13, and on his birthday, at that time, pretty amicable with his mum and his grandma, come over to our house for his 13th birthday. And it was a really nice time to actually see everyone get along and actually come together like it should be. And he went home after that and stayed with his mum that night, and his mum called me crying, and you got to come and get your son, and he's abusing me, he's doing this and doing that. And I pick him up, he didn't want to come in the car, and he's obviously scared what was going to happen. But I was like, mate, and I had to literally speak to him on the phone. I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to yell at you or anything, mate. We need to just go for a talk. And so he's gone in the car eventually, and we went down to the beach and had a yarn, and it was so emotional. But it was the first breakthrough for Jet, because I look at my eldest and he's me. Like, as far as an emotional point of view, he just gravitate. Anyone wants to show him love, he's all for it. He's always been an affectionate kid that's just thrived on it. And he was just like, "Oh, mum's left our family," and just bagging his mum, for her being the fault of why we are the way we are. And I had to, and I could have took that opportunity to be like, "Yeah, you're right, mate. Your mum's this and mum's that," and I didn't. And I don't say that to gloat, but I was just like, I need him to understand that if he's been holding on to this for such a long time, it's about time he gets the truth to be like, "Mate, your mum's not the fault that this family separated. It's my bad decisions that got me to that point." And
that's huge, bro. To be able to
big
admit
for
that.
you.
Yeah,
it's well done.
It was, mate. But I always been honest with the kids. Sometimes probably too honest. But I'm like, I never paint her in a bad light, because I'm like, despite what people say to me, and like I said, it's not healthy for the kids. It doesn't give me any satisfaction to say that either. I'm like, what do I get to gain out of saying that? But I'm like, that's the boy's mum. Like, I've got a mum. I love her to death. And I have a great relationship with her, and I want the boys to have that with her. And I would just assume that she would want the same for me, you know, and that's the saddest part of like, I could have doubled down there with him and I didn't, but I was like, mate, you need to understand that I've made some really bad decisions in my life which have caused us to be where we are, but I've been forgiven for it and I want to work through it. And so it was a real like beautiful moment for us in such a bad situation for it to come out like that. But it's an example because I always be able to reflect and talk to it with Jet, especially my elders, to remind him of that time, because I'm like, we don't want it to get to that point again. And that's where we find in men, a lot of it, we suppress so much and eventually it becomes a time where it's got to come out sometimes. And it comes out, a lot of the time it comes out really ugly. And we want to avoid that by having the conversations.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I want to just touch on what you've just said there in regards to the conversation you had with your son in regards to taking responsibility. I think it's one thing to defend your ex-wife and say, oh, look, yeah, not her. But the lesson in that to your son of you as a man, that lesson that you've just taught him, and I know what a man does, mate, is a man takes responsibility. That's massive. That is a huge lesson for a young boy to learn. So well done to yourself, mate. That's big.
Yeah, thanks, mate. But like I say, I do it because I know, like you said, what he will get from that, you know, because like you say, I've learnt the hard way, but I want him to grow up to understand that despite what we're going through as a family, and it's not easy, and it sucks to be in his position, but there's still ways, you know, to get through that and to talk about it and to still feel the love that he desires all the time. And he's obviously 15. He's going through so much at the moment, and you know, that's just teenagers, you know. But he's such a great young kid. But it's a bit harder to crack Blaze with 13-year-olds sometimes. But him too, like, you know, he knows, and there'll be times where I always offer it. And I just know, I think getting back to your initial question was the kids knowing that I'm there. And I think sometimes that's enough, you know, knowing that, right, well, if I am feeling that way and I see spurts of it, that I've got a loving father that wants to be there for me, that's enough. Because I don't think I ever felt like that was offered to me, or, you know, mate, if you're struggling, come and have a talk about it or whatever. I just don't think that was, and a lot of that's a generational thing as well. I don't blame mum and dad for that because that's all they knew. You know, there's so many great things that I've been taught and I got from mum and dad as well, and everyone can always focus on what you didn't have, but there's so much stuff that I'm so grateful for what they did give me, and it's made me the man I am today. But instead of dwelling on that, I just want to be part of the change to, you know, encourage fathers, men in general, to have those conversations. Because if we don't make the decision to be courageous and have those awkward conversations and have the ones not with just our kids, with anyone, what we're doing is we're literally handing it over to them to say, well, we didn't have it in us to deal with this. Now you have a crack at it, because I couldn't do it. I didn't want to have the courage to do it myself. And that might hurt some people, but it's just true. It's like the only way we change a generational cycle is we put a stop to it by changing it
100%.
ourselves, not wait for someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's huge.
You're a massive, not only just for your faith, but you're a big advocate for men's mental health. I want to know, why are you, in regards to what you've come from, to then be such a big advocate? Because before we hit record today, we were talking about the phrase raising awareness on how it's run its course. Raising awareness is literally, it's been dragged through, it's done, people are aware what to do now. Talk us through what you would say your journey for mental health was, to why now you're pushing forward for men to take action in it.
Yeah. My journey started, well, I learned now my journey started obviously at a young age, but mum and dad went through a divorce when I was quite young, and mum moved to New Zealand, and, you know, it's a long story, but I didn't see mum for 12 months, and I was so close with mum, and I never understood why. I wanted to, like, quit footy, and that was a bit of a, you know, opportunity where I was literally going to go to New Zealand with her, and she didn't want me to, and so I think looking back, that time in my life, like saying goodbye to her at the airport and then just cracking on with life, like it was such a big thing that happened in my life. But again, through my learnt behaviours, I just got on with it, and that was normal for me. And you know, you think of our kids at such a young age to just say goodbye to one of their parents and then not, you know, spoke on the phone. But that was a challenge for me. But then things moved so fast, and then I turned 15 and then I'm out of home anyway. So it was actually like, well, I'm out to fend for myself. So not that it didn't matter, but I learnt that it was just me, and I had to just, you know, it was up to me to, I suppose, fend for myself. And that's how it always ended up being. But eventually I was always, because I spoke earlier, I've always been someone that wants to do it myself. And I was always like, I never hate relying on people, and every asset in my life, that's how I've always, you know, done it. Like I'm always wanting to do it, and coming back to being a bit of a control freak. But I remember earlier when I was at Penrith and with my wife, I was about 24 at the time, and it was the first time I was really, my wife was kind of brought up that I was such a miserable person a lot of the time, and she couldn't understand like why I'm so moody at home, but then seeing so much enjoyment when I'm at training or at games, or she'd see me after games interacting with people, but then I'd come home and I'd be just miserable. I'd be like two separate people. And then because of my understanding of it around then, and, you know, I didn't think too much, but it got to a point where she was encouraged me to go and see someone, and my ego was kind of, you know, very large at that time to go, I don't need help. Like, so eventually I didn't have a choice. I just go and see someone, and they told me, and then I didn't agree with what they said, and I seen someone else and they told me the exact same thing, and I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. He said, you're depressed and you're riddled with anxiety. And at the time, I was like, I used to think that someone who was depressed was someone that was homeless, or, you know, didn't have a lot of stuff. And I'm like, how can I sit here and say I'm depressed when I earn all this money playing something I love? I'm on TV every weekend doing something that kids would die to do. I'm married and I've got a kid and one on the way. I'm like, what have I got to be depressed about? So I ignored it. It was the worst thing I ever did. And I always say it, but I literally just tried to crack on and manage life in the way I thought that I was doing it well. And it was shocking. But I kind of managed for the next, I suppose, 6 years of my life. And the next point, I still had them moods. I still didn't understand myself why I was the way I was. I'd been told, but I didn't agree that was the case. So I was in denial a lot of the time. It wasn't until I went to the UK, and there was times, because I'd come from Melbourne and there's such a strong culture there of standards, we'd be at training at times, and we'd be training and they would accept some of the way mistakes we're making at training or standards I didn't agree on. Because I was so angry a lot of the time and I was still caught in my own head, I'd storm off training sometimes. And because people still at this point don't know that I'm battling anything, they used to joke about me being bipolar. And it's like, Westo, one day he's like this, and the other day he's storming off training, he's got the shits. And that's probably like when I first was kind of like, well, people are starting to clue on to how I am. They're noticing it, and it's probably the first time in England where people actually voiced it. And even though they thought it was a joke, they didn't understand. I got nothing against the boys saying it, but it was because my behaviour represented that, you know. And I'd go home and I'd just miserable again. And these same behaviours from when I was 24 were coming back again. But this time around, I got to a point where, like, mentally I was just exhausted. Like, footy was still the mask for me, because I got to a point where I was helping other people. I did some really great things in the community over in England. But looking back, I was doing it all to avoid facing myself. And I literally had everything at my feet. The first year, I won every award at the presentation, and I always say I don't put myself on a pedestal for saying that, but it's give people a perspective of the compartmentalising my life. That was another example that I could be a certain person when I played footy, and when I was at training, I could just focus on that person. But when that finished, I was just like an empty person. I literally and because that just kept going without me dealing with it, I literally that's when all the lies started coming into my head. That's when I started getting suicidal all the time. And literally that was my first thought every time I woke up. I got to a point where I was just like, life would be better without me here. I knew how miserable I was. I knew how moody I was. And I was just like, why do people want to be around me? And people did. People still would gravitate towards me and want to hang out with me. And then I got to a point where I'm like, why? And I was still living this lie of that I'm okay, and I was doing my best to mask it with helping people in the community, doing all these different attributes that a lot of people would see and go, he's a great fella, he's out doing this. And I did. My heart was in the right place. But these were all added things. If I could be busy and do all these things and not have to come home and be in my own thoughts, then I was okay. But soon I was in my own thoughts again. And I'd get distracted. So distraction was the best thing for me because it'd just get me out of my own head. But every time I went to bed and when I'd wake up, it was literally the first thing I thought of. And my relationship with my wife was deteriorating, and I knew the writing was on the wall, and we had a bit of an argument, and next minute she just upped and left, and it shocked me, mate. It shocked my ego because I literally believed that she'll never leave me. And I used to say she's the best wife. She'll let me do anything I wanted to do, and all the boys used to think the same. Like, how does she let you do what you do? And I'm like, I know, she just, even times I used to say, I'm not going out tonight because I want to stay home. She'd be like, don't be silly, just go out. And so I found it really hard because we never had that communication. All this come up when she left. You did this, you did that. And that was really hard to face. But I had to retire instantly. So I didn't have a chance to finish on my own terms. I just signed a 3-year deal to stay at the club. My body was broken. So it was kind of a blessing probably that everything happens for a reason, that I probably wouldn't have even seen that out. But yeah, finished, play my last game, and then moved back to the Gold Coast where she was from. And it was always hard for me that time because I had to deal with a divorce, retirement, and, all in the one go. I didn't have a time to sit on any of this or prepare for it. It just happened all at once to my own fault. But in that time, I come back to the Gold Coast and trying to work on my marriage, and just wasn't having it. And I continued the partying, I continued taking drugs, and I was still getting paid by the club, which didn't help, So I was earning all this money and just out in Burleigh every weekend, carrying on like a good sort. And I had people around me that were supporting me doing that, like treat me like a celebrity. And I fed off that, and then I'd go home and I'd be in a dark hole till, probably Thursday, and then I'd feel good again. And this went on for ages, and to a point where one of my good mates, who's been like almost 20 years we've known each other, he fronted me one day. We're out in Justin Lane in Burleigh, and he told me to wake up, and he had a crack at me, and I instantly went sober. And in that moment, I was just like, wow, like, what am I doing? And it didn't stop me going through with what I go through, but it was the first time I kind of realised, like, I'm just doing the wrong things, this, that, and the other. But it was, again, I didn't listen and I didn't take that on. I ended up having an argument with my wife and ex-wife, sorry. And through this whole period, I'd already made a decision that I didn't want to be here. So the preparation started being so organised and stepped out was writing a letter to the two boys. And I have such mixed feelings. When I think of it now, it's shocking that I was ever in that point. And because I'm so structured out, I changed that letter so much, and I wanted them to understand why I couldn't be here and trying to articulate them for them to understand. But at the same time, when I look back at it now, it's just to think that I was there with everything I had and gone through. But there was times I was writing that letter, I just felt numb. Like it was like a process thing more than a heart connection to it. It was like, it's just something I have to do, be part of the process of doing what I was doing. And I looked at them knowing that what I was going to do, there'd be times I'd get so upset in the car and see them in the revision in the back of the car and just be like, to put myself in their shoes, to know what I was about to do was, yeah. And I just had an argument with my ex-wife over the phone, and that was it. And I sent that letter to their mum, and I went back home to where I was staying and attempted to take my own life. And if it wasn't for my two roommates that were with me, I'm not here today. And I'm just so grateful for them. But the next day, there was so much shame around that. there was so much shame around the fact that I couldn't do it. That someone has helped me in that time, and I didn't want that. There was a lot of like, I didn't want to be saved. I didn't want to be, I just didn't want to be here. And there was such a mental battle for me after that. But it was still an opportunity. My behaviour didn't change. And I'll be honest with it, I still was turning to that because I was still caught up in the fact that I didn't want to be here anymore. But I was trying to come to terms with, I've got a second chance at this. And eventually I snap out of that. And that's when I started, making that decision where I can either sit in this for the rest of my life and keep feeling sorry for myself, or make a decision to actually change and do this properly. And that's what led me to, get me stuff in order, doing what I knew, I responded well to. And it wasn't about giving up alcohol or anything like that. It was just not allowing that to be the agent to mask everything I was doing, because that's all it was for. And then the unfulfillment relationships, all these things were trying to make me feel good. But then when I was by myself, I was just a broken person. And then, as we play out, 4 weeks later, I met my wife, and now and everything has that journey. But after that, I was kind of like, how do I use my life in my experience to help others? And we touched on the awareness. I was like, there's so much awareness out there about mental health. It's like the stats aren't changing, like 9 people a day. We still see it. We put all the awareness out. We talk about it all the time, social media, we see it, and the stats aren't changing. So I'm like, what are we actually like doing about that?
Yeah.
And that led me to go, we need to talk. The vulnerability is the only way we get through it. There's no two ways about it. If we don't understand how people are feeling and they don't have a space where they can open up, it's all a guessing game. And the biggest thing that I was able to do, which I'm not proud of, was mask it from everyone else. And that's the scariest part of mental health. It's like we get so caught in our own head that we have this disguise on for so long because we don't want people to know that we're battling this. And we don't want to be that burden, whatever we tell ourselves in that time. And that's why it's always hard to pick it up. But I'm always saying to people, you could build capacity and capability within yourself to understand this space more. So you might be going okay, but the next person's not. And it's like, so what are we doing ourselves to help this situation? Like, we can be so self-absorbed so many times in our life where we're just so focused on what we're doing and how we're feeling. But we can always be better. And I feel like that's including me. But I wanted to set a men's group up, and I went through the process to do it. I got a team of lads that were keen from the church as well, and the church provided the space for us. And we had 73 men come to the first one, and such an overwhelming experience. I had this run sheet of how it was going to play out, and all timed and this and that. And one of the guys was a school teacher, and he goes, got a good icebreaker just to share a high and low of the week. And that went for an hour and a half. So he chucked the run sheet out, and we literally had men talking by just asking that question. And then we broke up and went around the room. And from that night, I knew that it doesn't take much. We just need to get them to talk. And sometimes those indirect questions of just having a conversation of how's your week been, I've found over the time, we've been doing it a few years now, is, I mightn't be going through something right now, but you are, and you share at the men's group, share something that I've never been aware that I've felt like that before. And so I actually learned from you. And then I'm like, actually, that's reminded me that I feel like that when that happens. And so sometimes you don't have to be broken to go to a men's group, because you could go there to help someone else or learn yourself, how you can be better, how you can pick up the signs of how someone else is going a lot of the time. So that's what sparked it, obviously my own journey, and it all was birthed from not having the ability to talk, not having the ability to share to someone that I am struggling. And there were obvious signs of divorce, and these are natural occurring things in life, but everyone around me, when everything happened the way it did, they were so shocked, because it's so normal to behave how I was behaving as far as drinking and taking drugs and doing all that. That's just society. That's just how it is these days. Not right, but that's how it was. So it's not like I was doing anything different to the people I was hanging out with. But yeah, I from that, it's just something that I learned over time to share. I got baptized at church. Obviously, they did a testimony video, and I now like make it part of my purpose. And I know God's pulled me through all that, you know, to use that to help other people. And I'm a firm believer of it. And I'm like, I went through the fire for a reason. And I'm like, I'd be a disservice if I didn't share my story and didn't go out to schools, businesses, anywhere I get an opportunity, I do it. I never say no to an opportunity because, like I said, someone needs to hear it. And they don't need to hear my story, but they need to know how loved and valued and worthy they are. And they get that through my message. And that's what it's always been about. And it's something I'll always do. And, you know, I get frustrated sometimes because I know there's so many people that need to be at my men's group, and they'll pat me on the back for doing it and good on you, Westo, for doing this and that. But I never see them. You know, I never see them at the men's group. I never see them supporting it. But there's such a fear there, even of man, to go, oh, I don't want to go. It's going to be so uncomfortable, you know. Yeah. But then right now, like, good on like guys on Instagram are doing like uncomfortable challenges, and it's always based around, you know, fitness or doing something extreme. It's like, why don't you go to a men's group? Why don't you go and reach out to someone you've never have them hard conversations? Make that your challenge, you know, like. I don't care if you run 5 kilometres as fast as you can. Like, that's all well and good, but is that making an actual impact? And that's why I have a really big challenge on Mental Health Month or Day or Are You OK Day. And I'm like, why we put so much effort into one day of the year when it should be Are You OK Day every day? Yeah. You know, not glorify it to a point to go, oh, we're putting all these yellow posters and balloons up and to make sure, are you OK? Like, you know, yeah, I get frustrated and I never buy into it, and I openly say it because I'm like, I'm not supporting something that is people aren't properly investing into that. It's literally, if you're not living it, the way we all have hearts for it here, but there's so many people that wait for that day to do something about it. I'm like, it's such a reactive space, you know.
I remember a couple of years ago, probably 2 years ago, might have been telling you this story. But I didn't realise it was, I don't get involved with the whole Are You OK Day either. Like, I actually purposely forget it. Like, and I actually genuinely do forget it. I don't even know what day it is. But I remember I was about 2 years ago, I pulled up to Bunnings, down at Caloundra. And I was there about 10 minutes early. I didn't realise that, you know, it opened at 7 o'clock. So I'm there about 10 to 7. And I'm waiting at the front with about maybe 15 other people waiting for the doors of Bunnings to open. And I see all the staff members coming in, one of the side doors getting ready, and they all had the yellow shirts on, but it turned into a bit more of a mufti day. So, you know, yellow shirts with yellow ribbons in their hairs and big bright yellow socks. It's the whole emphasis is the whole Are You OK Day. And I'm watching it all happen. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's Are You OK Day. Anyway, so the effort that they were going into, some ladies had like yellow things and stickers. Anyway, I've gone through Bunnings, got what I needed, and I've come through, and it had become more of like a fun day. This whole Are You OK Day has become like this fun mufti day within Bunnings staff, right? Anyway, so I thought, oh, I'll get to the front. Anyway, I'm about to pay for my stuff. And she's all happy in this and covered in the yellow stuff. And she served me. And then it gets to the end. And I'm like, cool, thanks very much. I said, oh, by the way, I'm okay. And she goes, I'm sorry. I said, I'm just letting you know that I'm okay. And she goes, okay with what? And I'm like, wow. Literally everything about your outfit, your uniform is I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, wow, you're okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Mate, what's ahead of what's the Dayne Weston coming up ahead? Who have we got to look forward to? What's his outlook?
Hey, the same of what I've been doing. Like, the men's group will always be there. I'm starting a podcast soon, and I've started recording some episodes, and hoping to launch that in the coming weeks. So that's exciting. And again, that's just a branch off of the men's group. I just want to have conversations like you guys are, you know, with people that have, you know, got a story to tell, and again, with the emphasis to help other people. And I just think we all learn and evolve, you know, in our own way. And I just think giving men and people in general another opportunity to hear from people is pretty powerful. I mean, I listen to podcasts all the time, and I think it's such a great way to get a message across to people. Because it's so accessible, you know, across the world. And again, not limiting myself to just the Gold Coast area. Like, I want these conversations to help people. And like I've always said, if I've helped one person, I've done my job. But I've got some like cool plans in place around not just the podcast, but just through the mental health space. The men's group will continue, but me and a few other guys, Izzy Folau, Eddie Pettyborn, myself, have got a big plan in place for next year, and we want to continue to share God's great work in our life, and we know that we can have an impact in a pretty cool way. So that's something to look forward to. We had a call last night, our first official call of how this is going to look, and we're so pumped up about it. And not if it is going to change lives. Like we want to. It's all about glorifying God, and we just know we've got an influence out there in sport, and utilising that to bring people in to hear testimonies and to talk about. I think it will be really great opportunity. So one in the pipeline. But other than that, like I'm a firefighter, so I'm currently off at the moment.
I think you'd fight anything.
What month are you in the calendar?
I'm not fight it with your fists. Or?
My wife won't let me. Every time before I got into the job, everyone used to wind her up and said, "Oh, what month of the calendar is he going to be in?" And she'd get pretty mad about it, like it was something was going to happen. But
seriously, what month?
But so every 4.5 months we get a month off, and it's the best job. I honestly love what I do, and again, community, like loving helping people, but also the connections. Literally like being in a footy team. At a smaller level, you go to work, and when you're not at a job, you're connecting and building that camaraderie is pretty special, and I love it. So apart from that, just, continuing this journey, I suppose, and continuing to be the best person I can be, the best father and husband and friend to people. And I suppose that's not, a big goal in a lot of people's eyes, but for me, it's like that's my goal every day is just to be the best version of myself, and to live up to what I value and who I am as a person, and unashamed, and just ready to take it on.
It's awesome, man. I think, as you said before, awareness and action, totally different things, and you've got an incredible story. For those people who have listened to this and resonate to some of it, or find themselves in places in part of your journey, in one sentence, what would you say is the first step that they could do to move forward?
Just seek help. Like, no matter what you're going through, there's always a way through, even as bad as it seems, because I know firsthand how that looks like, but just go and get the help. Go and seek it straight up. There's no two ways about it, because we can use any other thing to try and fulfill us, like I tried to, and it doesn't work. Until I always said, this is a bit longer than a sentence, but we've all
1 hour.
We've all experienced trauma in our life. When we look at it, there's always been something in our life that has created trauma. And now some, like mine, is quite severe. There's others that aren't so severe, but they still cause that. And mine's not greater than the other person's. It's like, because we spoke earlier about that, is if it's affecting your life, then it's an issue and we need to deal with it. So you can't compare your situation to someone else's and devalue it because you don't think it's a big issue. So it's, always, seeking that help, but then pursuing it. I ended up with 5 psychologists before I found one that I actually connect with. I took my wife, Lydia, come to one because she was like, I don't think you're doing really well with this psychologist. And she come along, and he actually even asked her to come along, and she's like, he's not for you. And then she was right. And I found one, and I just got it. And now I still see one today. And through the fire service, we get free psychology, which is so good. But the last time I went to my psychologist, he goes, how you going? And I was like, yeah, pretty good. Explain what was happening. He's like, mate, your life's great. He's like, but the only thing that is, that's not great is things that you can't control. And that's my ex-wife, but he's like, other than that, everything else, your life's great. And he's right. I was like, I can't control her, but I can control what I'm doing. And I love what I've got. I love the opportunities I've got. I love, everything that I'm doing. I'm like, there's not a lot of people that can go to work and say they love what they do. Wake up every day and I'm like, love going to the gym. I love, working. I love doing this space. It's just, everything's an opportunity to help, and then for me to grow as well. Like, I'm forever learning. I think the day you think you can't learn is, you probably should give it away. But I think we can always learn. Having that mindset that we can always learn, as we evolve as well.
For sure, mate. Well, mate, I just really appreciate the effort you've made to be a part of what we're doing here, mate. Really appreciate the drive up and being a come of this part of this podcast. Your story's amazing. I love your testimony. I love the fact that you're not just speaking from a place of, I've got so much information I want to share. You carry the passion behind the word you talk, and that's noticeable, man. I really appreciate you being a part of what we're doing here.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Really thanks, mate, for joining. Lads, you want to wrap up with anything you want to say? Or
I don't think much more needs to be said, mate.
there's a lot in that, man, and that was unreal. Truly, man. Stevo, anything but?
Oh, man, I'm going to take away so much from that for myself and as a dad, as a man. So, man, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. And, giving us so much to think about, which is it's inspiring, bro. It really is.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Truly.
Is there anything you'd like to say to Steve about helping him being a Broncos fan?
Can you actually get prayer for that? I don't know. Deliverance.
Yes,
Prayer got us through the final. What are you talking about?
Dear God, dear Buddha, up the guy. No, well, thanks once again. Well, look, fellas, thanks for joining us here at the Men's Collective Podcast. We're the Average Joes. We love the fact that you're a part of what we're doing here, and we appreciate you joining us. Look, get out there, become better men, fellas. Once again, thanks for being a part of it.
Been a pleasure,
That
mate.
was
What a great
insane.
week.
Dayne, mate, once again, thanks so much, buddy. Truly.
Thanks, mate.
It was
Appreciate
really,
having
really
me.
good. Well, fellas, get out there, and like we say every single week, get out there and be better men, because the world needs better men. All right, fellas, enjoy.
Catch us next time.
Catch us.
See you, boys.